By the power of Grayskull.
And to think that this was the cause of it all.
I shouldn't be up here.
News for the first time ever anywhere.
And very evidently so.
How dare you?
Weird. I am so sorry to my world. I am so sorry to my world. This is not what we want.
Hello, my fellow Gaijin, Laoi, Kafir, Goy. Happy Thanksgiving for tomorrow. Hope everyone's doing well. I don't know. I've been going back and forth about doing this live stream for a while now. Yeah, I got inspired by the least likely of places, and I'm not sure what to make of it. To be honest with you, I've had this in my life where people just kind of tell you what you need to hear, and if you're going to be honest with yourself, it's like it's got to be the Holy Spirit. As vain as that sounds, as nutty as that sounds to some, it's like, yeah, I mean, it's like God talking through others. Okay. All right. Hello, Dumagra. Forgive me for getting that wrong. How dare I? I'm assuming that's the intro video that you're referencing. Yeah, that made in China thing, it's got some people's feathers ruffled. Honestly, without the paid plan on what do you call this platform? I don't know. It's all merged to me at this point. They're all the same to me at this point. Duckville. What is this? StreamYard. Yeah, I'm using StreamYard right now. Free version. Long story. But yeah, basically the prices went up, and anyway. So yeah, they've got everything step by step on lockdown. Now I can't even use any of the videos, so I had a very last second find something quickly and show that old video. Those that are offended by it, my apologies. What you're looking at is let me be frank, forgive my English here, an ancient Chinese dildo, and it's got made in China written on it. Maybe that's not the spirit of Thanksgiving for sure, but I mean, on the fly, that's the first thing I found. That's what I went with. Yeah, you forgive me for that. But yeah, God bless you, blessings. I got to say the name sounds semi-familiar. You'll have to remind me where I know you from, if I do. At any rate, yeah. So today I'm just going to spend about an hour, maybe two tops. I'm just going to go through all these projects that I've dedicated much of my life to, particularly lately. Publications, the academic research, and and how I feel like I'm spinning wheels here, as the Greeks say, "Mia tripos to noro." Feel like I'm just I'm trying to make a hole in water, But yeah, and I'm going to share this. I've been very reactionary lately. It's and I wear my emotions on my sleeve for the most part. You might see me on other people's streams, and I'm very much biting my tongue on those and trying trying to do my best to be mindful and respectful, mindful of their platforms and not get them in trouble. So I don't do half the antics on their channels that I do on my own. If I suffer from the you-boo fascism, then, that's on them, on my platform. So be it. But I don't want to do that to others. So I try to do my best to be on my best behavior there. But also when they say things that are online and all that, I don't want to embarrass them, undermine their efforts publicly. Given the opportunity, I'll speak to them off screen or off, whatever. I don't always, usually don't get the opportunity. There's very few that have that kind of care or integrity. But anyways, I have spoken to some behind the scenes about my things, and they know where I stand on certain things. I'm also make it public. If they're making things public and they're doing so persistently, I address those publicly, especially, like I said, when I don't have any other option anyway. But yeah, so what am I talking about? I'm talking about my reactionary behavior to some of the shenanigans going on online. One that I've dropped the name of sharing videos and all, even created another video recently, was Blanchard. He is Blanchard. And my son Silly, I do love the guy, but even in live streams, he's you can tell he's unique. He's sincere, which goes a long way in my book. Even if you're wrong, if you're being sincere, then it's manageable. It's those that are being deceitful that are the problem. Anyway, so yeah, but there's been some things going on that I've been very public about that I couldn't figure out. Couldn't figure out where that stuff was coming from. If I was being fooled yet again by yet another online persona. But these past couple of streams, and I tuned out, to be honest with you. I stopped watching his videos and stuff when I started making my live streams. When he made a live stream about the Greeks 3 hours in, and doing the whole communist propaganda stuff that I've addressed. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can find it on my channels, either the last couple live streams or in the last edited video. I even put a post up about it. I just didn't know what to make of it. It was like I've stated, is this another et tu, Brute moment? And for that guy, even though I don't know him personally, he's very personal, he's very likable. So I felt a personal connection to him, as silly as it sounds. I don't know the guy. It just, in all reality, he's just a digital manifestation, if I will. He's obviously a real person. And, these days with the AI and all these shenanigans, it's being made for us where we can't discern reality from deception. But, he's very real. Again, his channel is He is Blanchard. We're going to look at one of his videos. Actually, let's do that now that I'm yapping about. Let's take a look so you guys see what I'm talking about. This is, I guess, let's see. Where did you post this? Oh, an hour ago. There you go. Yeah, an hour ago. Yeah, let's, clicks. Give me a minute here, guys. Sorry. 1,000 clicks. There we go. Take a listen. How's it going, Demir? Cool name. Demir Naratic. I thought I had a cool name. That's pretty awesome. Naratic, is that correct? Is BotRix a bot? Yes, it is. It's something that I added a year or so ago. I found some kind of widget online to help me manage. Back then I was using a different platform, not this one, a free platform. And so I downloaded this thing to help me manage the chat. And since then, it's been automatic and it follows me around. Even when I'm on other people's channels, it follows me. It's really creepy. I don't know how to get rid of it. I might have to just, I don't know, delete the memory or something to get rid of it. I don't know what. Anyway, yeah, but it's a bot. There's a help me. It doesn't do the job properly naturally, and it just now stalks me. It's creepy as hell. Yeah. Anyway, let's get to Blanche here. His last video, he was asking for prayers for help. He says he's going through some things for the last 3 weeks. Ironically, 3 weeks ago is when I personally had a falling out with him. And again, all that stuff was posted live. And I'm not about this, debates and drama and stuff. I hate it, to be honest with you. But this wasn't a personal thing at all. Again, personally, I really like the guy. If I was a drinker, he's the kind of guy to have a beer with. But what he was saying and doing was, again, I'm here for a reason. It's not for super chats. It's not for popularity or likes or anything like that. It's to reach people, to give my life meaning, as bad as that might sound to some. So, yeah, when I see others misleading people in a detrimental way, regardless if it's intentional or not, if it's willful or whatever, it's a problem for me. I've literally dedicated my life to helping others. Literally dedicated my life to it. So it's not something that I can take easily or lightly or silently. So yeah, 3 weeks ago when he was doing these things, I had to address it. And then, as I shared before, he mentioned, you've got to die and all that. And understand he had a theological rationale behind the words that he was choosing. I get it. But it was a spirit of things. The spirit of things are done. It speaks volumes. So, you can say hello different ways. It's one word, hello. You can say hello. That's okay. It's neutral. You can say hello. That's not so neutral. It's kind of negative. It's kind of aggressive. Or you can say hello, right? Same word, one word. But the spirit in which is done or said or is communicated changes everything. And that's what I was addressing. Not only the content, but in the spirit, it was also being delivered. So I felt compelled to react, to do these reactionary things, not only on my channel, which is, as you know, very limited. I have a very small following. Thank you, fascist, you boob. But yeah, on his channel and so on. At any rate, so his last video was asking for prayers, basically. He was being very repentful. I was like, whoa, okay. So now let's listen to this one. This is, again, from an hour ago or so.
Let's just jump right into it. Today's title is God's Plan versus Regrets. And I can tell you from experience that regrets are like a ghost, and they've haunted me a great majority of my life. And I thought about regrets today, and I thought about how it's a trick from the enemy. And it truly is, because regrets have you focused on something that you can't change.
Can I get an amen? Yeah, and ironically, this is the spirit that this live stream is being done. Reflecting on my life, on these things that I'm literally dedicating my life to. Committing my life to. That is the academic research that I've been trying to push through for years now. The publications that, are half done, completed, but not published. All these things that I just can't quite get beyond the threshold to get it out there in the hands of other people to make the difference that I want to make. Again, to make my own life meaningful, to give it value. Or to put another way, to give back. Scripturally speaking, given so many talents, I want to be able to give at least one talent back. I mean, it's a moral imperative. So again, spinning wheels, trying to make a hole in water, as the Greeks say. That's what I feel. And I'm going to share pretty much all of these projects in detail, or most of them in detail with you today. It's going to take me an hour or two. But you'll see for yourself what I'm trying to share. I'm sharing these publicly at this point. I know intellectual rights and all these things, yada, yada, but maybe blessed, as the monks say. Anyway, let's continue with Blanche here.
the devil will always remind you of your past because you can't change it. So it's almost like that's how you get imprisoned by the enemy, is that he gets you stuck in something that you can't change. Meanwhile, God has the present and our future in mind. The Bible even talks about Jeremiah 1:5. Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. And before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee and I ordained thee a prophet unto nations. So think about your life right now. Think about regrets, and then think about God knowing us before we were even in the womb.
You know, and this is another thing I'm sharing lately. You know, these past few years, having been on the outside looking in, being, working toward ordination, the diaconate, for a couple of decades now, in and out. And, again, falling short with that stuff along with other things, and having these regrets and scratching my head and wondering, what is it that I'm doing here? What am I doing here? What is the meaning of life, right? That kind of existential crisis. And yeah, I mean, at times, a lot of times actually, that I've been wondering, am I a condemned man? But then here I am. Yeah, I'm living in poverty. I mean, I'm actually in an impoverished nation right now. And even by their standards, I'm living in poverty by their standards. I'm at odds with people. I'm in a very small community, very traditional. But many of them are, let's say, modernists, communists, that kind of thing. They hate the church. They hate me. I don't go around picking fights with people. Quite the opposite. I'm pretty much a peacemaker, believe it or not. I know it sounds differently here. That's a whole other ball of wax online, and what I've been doing here and how I've been conflicted about that, my own approach. But yeah, I'm quite different in person, so to speak. And so even, again, trying to be helpful in person as well, as much as I can. I can barely help myself, so there's not much I can do for others. But, I try to help out whenever I can. Yet there's some people that literally want me dead. And they've been very even explicit about that. Not because I've done something wrong to them or said something or nothing like that. Simply because I'm Christian. Because I'm Christian. And they've been explicit about that. So, yeah, I mean, it's like, what am I doing here? Am I a condemned person? But in the face of all this adversity, all this poverty, all these shortcomings, unable to push things through, being an enemy to people, somewhat being hunted. But yeah, I mean, listen to what Blanche is saying, and he's nailing this. And this is what I mean by I'm sharing things from other people. I've come to realize that there's so much better people than me, that even being able to communicate things, they do it in such a better way. And he's one of them. I mean, that's why I watch his stuff. I watch stuff because he's Christ-centered first and foremost. He does have integrity. You can see that, despite my complaints lately. And, it's hard for me to apologize for those because in that moment, and that time span, I was perceiving things correctly. And I was addressing them as best as I could. But here we are, a man who's showing absolute integrity. And I was wondering, in his last live stream, is he being sincere, or is this is there some kind of catch? But yeah, just like he's shown throughout his live streams, he does his best to be as sincere as possible and as correct as possible. Both. It's rare.
So as much as we could have prevented certain things in our life, it's still a part of God's plan in the end. Romans 8:28 says, and we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are the called according to his purpose. So we know that even though we may have done things in the past, they don't necessarily completely destroy our present or our future. And I think in my life,
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, that's the thing. You know, there's a book by Anthony Bloom, Beginning to Pray. And don't get confused by the title. It's really deceiving. It's a short read, 80 pages, give or take, minus the intro Q&A. Very powerful read, but he talks about that, about being present, about living in the present, and about being self-aware and being honest with yourself. These are very difficult things to do, very challenging, and it should be done like this book suggests. It should be done in small doses. It's like building a muscle. Yeah, to put it in scientifically, coping with reality. It takes some practice, as crazy as that sounds. Coping strategies is a pretty big thing in social sciences for a reason. And God helps us through that. That's why we call it a race. That's why we need each other to lean on. We're not made to be quote unquote individuals. But yeah, let's keep going. Oops, sorry about that.
a lot of regrets, and they cause me to not look at my current situation and see the goodness of it and the value of it. And then it almost obliterated my future. And so I really only saw hope in just daydreaming and wishing, but never really having a tangible way to achieve it or even see it.
Yeah, and that's I completely relate to everything you're saying here. I got the bad habit, if I have more time, then I'll book more things than I can handle. If I have more resources, then I'll commit more resources than I have. So no matter how much time and resources I have, I'll always overwork myself and overextend myself. It's a very bad habit. And what happens is I want to do all these things and end up becoming overwhelmed, or I overwhelm myself and end up not doing much. As we say again in Greek, "Mia trippa στο νερό," a hole in the water, or spinning wheels, as we say in America. So yeah, it's counterproductive. It's unwise, and it's if I'm going to be honest, it's ego-driven. It's not good. And the regret. Let the dead bury the dead. I think I wrote that in description. You know, this is I'm using this in a now more philosophical way. Again, I'm maybe misusing scripture here or something. I'm critical of myself, but you know, one of God's greatest gifts in my mind, my heart, is repentance. It's one of the overlooked gifts, the ability to ask God for forgiveness. For his mercy endureth forever. For his mercy endureth forever. Hallelujah. That's from the Psalms, right? Or is it Song of Psalms? Anyway, either way. Yeah, I mean, it makes all the difference in the world. I think there's a lot of examples of that. The greatest, most popular example of that is Saul, right? We got to be honest with ourselves. And then we got to allow God to forgive us.
When I say tangible, I mean that faith without works is dead. So my works were not going with my faith, just like my expectations were not matching my desire. And a big portion of that is coming from regrets, because you believe that the things you did in the past almost prevent you from having a prosperous and blessed future. That's not how God works, though. And we just read that all of those things work out for good for those that love the Lord. So if we love God truly, then the bad things of our past are going to work out for the future. Now, for me,
And again, another Bible verse that speaks to that is converting a stumbling stone into a stepping stone. One of my favorites. So, and it is like that. I don't know how many times I've said and continue to say that if I had a time machine, I wouldn't go back to change things. I would instead go back in time to kick my own butt when I was being those periods of time when I think about those times in the past and I cringe. I would go back and kick my butt at those periods. That's a really bad attitude to have. Obviously, I knew that when I was saying it, but now that I reflect upon it, especially in this context, yeah, repent, give it up to God, and allow His mercy to endure forever, if He so wills.
this is very liberating. This is very freeing that God loves us so much. And I'm going to say this too, that I think a lot of my hangups as well was that I felt like I didn't deserve, like it's almost like you have regrets and it affects your self-esteem. Like it's so many details that I'm learning about myself to where things I wasn't doing was because I didn't feel worthy. And you don't feel worthy, you feel ashamed, but then you can't really go to God because God knows. And it's just this vicious cycle. And really it's a tool of the enemy. Really it's a tool of Satan. And a lot of it stems from regrets, because regrets, believe it or not, are an enemy of faith. How are you going to be believing for the impossible? How are you going to believe to be able to move a mountain and you're focused on the past? Like, how are you going to be able to move a mountain in the present or achieve something in the future when you're focused on the past?
Yeah, I mean, he really says it well there. I'm going to go ahead and share this link in the chat for you. And by the way, if anyone wants to come up, feel free. I'm just sharing some projects with you guys. Yeah, I'll move on to the next thing. Let's go ahead and add this up here now. So where's my treasure? On the back of what we just heard from Blanche here and his repentful nature and its dividends, and how at a time where I needed to hear that, here I was going back and forth today, whether or not I want to do the stream, because looking back at all these things that I've done and not gotten half as far as I wanted to with those projects, it's difficult, especially someone at my age who had all these other personal life goals that also I fell short on. So it's easy to get into this pity party, as we say in America. Give into the passions of despair. Again, that is an instrument of Satan, as the church fathers talk about. I'm no expert in the church fathers, I'm patristics. But, yeah, I mean, Bible, church fathers, it's simple, isn't it? If we allow the despair to overwhelm us, to make us ill, I mean, what does that do to our relationship with God? What does that do to our relationship with each other? Doesn't that cripple our relationship with one another? Not to mention our fruits, our works. If we're crippled, what are we doing? What are we doing for the glory of God, as we say? For our sake and for each other's sake. So that's where I'm at. I'm like reflecting all these projects and, feeling bad about not getting as far as I can with them. But I think at this point, I just need to give it up to God and trust God and Because the message lately seems to be, what is it that I want? And as vain as or egotistical, egocentric that is, something I haven't done for a long time is attend to my own needs. And it's that the thing that Blanche mentioned. Am I deserving? I'm public about that. How I don't feel deserving, and I talk about the blessings I've had in my life. And look at these pictures. Look at the pictures. On the left, you got a picture of me on top of Mount Olympus. Not in my wildest dreams did I ever think that I would visit Mount Olympus. Never mind climb the peak of Mount Olympus, or might have etched my signature on the top of Mount Olympus. By the way, a childhood little thing, Lion of Olympus from Marvel Comics, Hercules. Anyway, so that's a blessing. That was something that I didn't pursue. That's something that fell in my lap, and I'm so grateful for it. That's something that cannot be taken away from me. The picture in the middle, you see, that's me with a mule. I'm leading a train of mules in a place on the Holy Mountain, a place I've never even heard of before. And I've come to find out since being there, it's a well-known place, a life-changing place. And in there, I was at the area called the desert. No electricity. Living life in a traditional way. Praising God. I mean, experience of a lifetime. So much so that it's inspired me to write a biography, even though who am I to even share my life story? Who am I? But it's not about me. The things that are beyond words, that I'm going to try to put into words, that this synergy, this God's grace, what it does to our lives, what it does to us, how meaningful it is. A blessing. And again, these things, I look at them, I'm like, who am I to deserve these things? The picture on the right, when my youth, a little more vainglory there. That's a tourist community, a somewhat popular tourist community. They even made a movie about it, a movie or two. You know, having a good time. Driving around a sports car, that kind of thing. Even that's vain. Like, why did I deserve any of that? Well, blessings, you know. And then to answer my own question, am I not the child of God? Aren't you the child of God? Why not me? Why not you? Are we really that horrible that we deserve no blessings at all in our lives? Anyway, so Thanksgiving, the world's going to hell. We're all at each other's throats by design. Do your best to be Christ-centered tomorrow. Thank God for all your blessings. Thank God that your family's there with you, healthy, alive, not living on the streets, not knowing how they're going to survive till the next day. Be thankful. Give it up to God with all your heart. We have a lot to be thankful for. All right, so let's talk a little bit about these my talents that I want to give back here. Let me make this a little bigger here so I can. Okay, so you know, I look at what are the works that others are doing, like Blanche and Jim Bob, and I mean so many other Thaddeus. You know, I was on a stream recently, about a month ago, give or take. His birthday stream. And near the end, a Muslim came up, and the Muslim was being crafty, and he was challenging. Thaddeus, but I think he was testing me out too. He was kind of testing the water, trying to figure out where I am theologically, you know, which quote unquote denomination I'm not part of, and all these kinds of things. So he was talking about, I think it was addressing the creed or something like that, challenging the creed. I can't quite remember. something along those lines. And I stepped in and corrected the guy, like, hey, you know what? Well, the canons actually say this, the church canons. And Thaddeus quickly jumped in and cut me off, which at first I was like, hey, what are you doing? Why are you cutting me off? But then I realized that this guy was being crafty. He was trying to pit two Christians against each other. And Thaddeus, and again, I could be wrong, but this is how I perceived what happened. Thaddeus, being as experienced as he is with these kinds of things, quickly recognized that and shut it down before it could get going. But me being a rookie, I was about to take the bait. So my point is that even though we don't always recognize it, these people are well equipped to do what they're doing. And as critical as I am, and by the way, the live stream on the internet, it's still coming. It's still coming. And I'm going to do it in a way that it's going to be not tongue wagging so much. If you know who I'm talking about, you know who I'm talking about. But you'll know who I'm talking about because of their fruits. What I'll be addressing, is the fruits. And those need to be addressed. That's not only about the Christian apologists, but the internet at large and how much it's impacting people. So it's going to be a long live stream or an edited video. An edited video, it's going to be documentary. So I don't know what kind of time I have to commit. But yeah, I mean, basically I want to get my other projects done. And I'm going to some degree, share with you guys public here what those are. To kind of get them out there, you'll see. So the things that I'm trying to get done here. Yeah, content creator. As you guys know, I've got a couple more live streams planned, and I want to call it quits. So well, make it third. This whole K-pop demon hunters craze. I'm gonna have to do a movie review about that. I don't know if it's gonna be a live stream. It's probably gonna be a maybe even a short. But that's another project I feel compelled to do. So I'll get that done too. Yeah, content creating, but I'm moving on from that because I've gotten signs where I need to move on. Outside of these things I've talked about here, something personal, something just recently happened. That's giving me the sign to move on from the content creating, and from the academic thing. My children's books publications, the comic book series. I was torn about from the get-go, and I'll talk about that in more detail. But I'm going to go ahead and hang that up as well. At this point, it's reactionary anyways. Before it was for warning. It was back in 2017. Anyways, I'll talk about that in a little while, near the end of the presentation. That's the last thing we'll cover today is the comic book series. I'm sure most of you are not really interested in that, so I'll save it for last so you guys can tune out at that point if you so choose. Yeah, but the children's book stuff I think you'll enjoy. Yeah, in the research, the academic research, that's after. I mean, the live streaming is what I usually prioritize for whatever reason, out of habit or whatever. I don't know what. It's but yeah, then the academic research, which looks like is not going to go anywhere either. I think I'm going to go ahead and hang that up as well. As I mentioned, I got a sign that I need to give up on that, which is really unfortunate. But I can turn that into a publication. I don't need the PhD the THD in this case, the doctorates. That was the whole point, was to get the doctorates, get the certification, get the academic publication, to get some traction, some notoriety, so I can get that out there, get the message out there, expose Hollywood and its conditioning and its Christian bashing with evidence, with receipts, as they say in these circles. But I can still do that without the Masonic degree, the Kammadulata level, reaching Kammadula Capicola or whatever they call it. Anyway, yeah. In addition to that, take care of myself. I'm trying to homestead, which is very challenging, by the way, very time-consuming and challenging. Addressing my personal needs, got to take care of myself. No small, that's a job itself, of course. And spiritual growth. First and foremost, that should be my first on my list. And to do that, thank God, I have inspired by family members, a cousin. When we were young, he told me about a exercise of just being disciplined to do some kind of silly thing on a daily basis, on a regular basis, just to have the discipline. And that little speech from our childhood has helped me right now as an adult to do these spiritual things common in the Orthodox world, ikonostasis at home, and doing the home prayers and all these things. We call it the prayer rule. Even when I'm tired, exhausted, I'm like, I force myself out of discipline to do that. And let me tell you, people, it's been life-changing, to say the least. It sustained me. It saved me. It has saved me. No joke. That small discipline has made all the difference. All the difference. But yeah, I'm now, from the diaconate, then moving on, as God so wills, but obviously that's I've botched that up. So now it's, do I stay in the world alone, or do I become a monk? And if I become a monk, I really want to get these publications out. So that's where I'm at. I'm trying to get these publications done. Well, whatever rate at this point, if it's Amazon, so be it. Whatever condition they are, as long as I get them done, and find an abbot that I can have a good relationship with, and live out the rest of my days. We'll see. And again, your prayers are appreciated. God bless you all for those who have been praying for me. Again, I'm still here for a reason. Thank you. All right. Yeah, so these questions that I have here, have I put in the proper formation work to make a difference in the world, in my own life? As the Bible quote says, and I've had a lot of these types of Bible quotes lately, kind of walloping me. Many are called, few are chosen, so on and so forth, over and over again. I don't feel like a condemned man. I'm thankful when I say I feel like God's been sustaining me. God's great in spite of me, as Father Castanas used to say. But yeah, I need to put in my work. I need to take it to the next level. Time flies. 2 decades have gone by, and well, here I am. Botched marriage opportunities. Again, I'm not divorced, but as far as that kind of stuff goes, I've talked about those. Couple people invited me to do testimonials. Those are out there. You can find those. I go in details, but I'm an open book. If people can benefit from learning from my mistakes, glory be to God in all things. The ordination I just mentioned, that's a tough one. That one really kills me. But the whole missing my callings because I have been praying unceasingly like I should and have the relationship at those times, and therefore I didn't hear or recognize His opening the doors for me. That stuff kills me. It's like I feel like I've turned my back on God, but His mercy endureth forever. I'm still here, and I believe it's by His grace. So yeah, I need to get this stuff done. Long story short, let's get into the first thing, the internet stuff. This is where I spend most of my time. Creature of habit. It really became a thing. 2020 lockdown. I was on a fascist book up until then for a decade. Again, that's something I didn't even want to do back then. But I was in a relationship, and she was insisting that I get on. She was saying I could find old friends, and I tested it out. This was back in 2008, give or take. And sure enough, I was finding all these childhood friends from fascist book. And I was like, this is great. And then it became a bit of a junkie. I started using it as a blog post. I had my own group after a while. 2016, I think I started my own group addressing Hollywood mass media. At that point, it's been over a decade that I had, let's say, lightly researched or had their awakening from a challenge about its Christian bashing. So I was sharing these things with others online. 2020, I got shut down again. It had to be because of the messenger notes to the family group about, again, this is 2020. I told them, invest in Pfizer, and when you realize it's blood money, dump it. A message that nobody got, and I was kicked off from Fascist Book with extreme prejudice. They didn't follow their own company policies, never mind the law or anything like that, never mind the U.S. Constitution. And even to this day, I can't even open an Instagram account. I can't even look at a Facebook page. I mean, they've completely locked me out. It's insane. So we've had a few dark winters since the 2020 lockdown, and I resorted to doing things like the crowdfunding and the PayPal and what is the these things I don't go to anymore. By the way, please, I forget what it's called. Let me look it up. Now that I'm thinking about it, I need to warn you guys. Again, I've been locked out of Is it PayPal? No, not PayPal. It's It's something with a P. I forget what these things are called. It goes to show how often I visited that thing. I actually got people that gave me money through it before. Some that didn't get through. Oh, it's what is it? Patreon. Sorry. Patreon. Please don't give me any money through Patreon or give me any money anywhere. Please. Okay. Do you have some film, movie that I recommend? Absolutely. The one on abortion came out about 10 years ago. That is a gut-wrenching movie based on a true story. I can't remember the name of it. Let me look it up. It is really, again, my memory. My memory might as well be called Google. But anyway, I think it's called, Unplanned. Unplanned. I'm going to put that link in the chat for you so you can see it. The International Movie Database. Yeah, I really recommend that movie, even though it's a difficult one to watch. What else? I mean, Soul Surfer, it was kind of cheesy. Some people got inspired by that. It was all right. You know what? Actually, you know what? Remind me. Why don't you put a message after the live stream? Remind me, put a message so I can give you a list of movies. Right now, I've got I don't have it handy right now. I would have to take a few steps. It'll take me a few minutes to set up to go through the list of movies that I can give you. But I do have a list of movies that are friggin' fantastic that I strongly recommend. I just can't remember them off the top of my head. A lot of the Christian movies, the 21st century quote-unquote Christian movies, I actually will not recommend. So they're not what you might think. Some of them are. Some of them are not Christian. So, but yeah. Ask me that question again, please, in the comment section after the live stream, and I'll give you a whole list. I'll be happy to do that. If you'd ask me books, Beginning to Pray, we'll get into that. I mean, if you look at the thumbnail, there's some recommendations there. But most of those on the thumbnail, you want to get with your spiritual father, and you want to do that with some guidance. In other words, you need a coach, someone who's already been through the circus, knows how to handle all the obstacles, and can guide you through doing that. Because when you start building a relationship with God, Satan really cranks it up. So that spiritual warfare, the spiritual trek, it's something we shouldn't be taking lightly. We need others in our corner to help us through that process. So where was I? What were we talking about? Oh, we're doing this thing, the presentation. I mean, who am I helping? For a while there, I was thinking, okay, maybe I'm influencing influencers here. Some of them, some were great. Dropping a name. Should I drop names? I won't drop names. But there's been people that have been really helpful. Some of them actually did live streams on these. One of them was a partner. Actually, a couple of partners. They're both pretty helpful. Yeah, you know, a couple of folks like that actually gave me a job during these dark winters of content creating, editing videos. I just felt like I made bank, but at that time where I was literally 2 months behind on my electric bill, it was literally life-saving. So thank you. God bless you for your support. Yeah, I mean, people, and I'm critical of them, but I'm critical of the things that I should be critical of. You know, as we say in these circles, iron sharpens, I mean, I should say steel sharpens steel. So, yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'll go back and forth. Have I really helped to some degree for a while? But when you get things like, you know, the shenanigans where they just don't care, you explain it to them and all that, and just go on and on about the Orthodox Muslims and things like that. It's a bit much. Then you're like, okay, touch your feet. Well, what have I been dedicating my life to? And I'm not going to say it's not worth it. I mean, we do our best, and at that point, it's on them. It's like, it reminds me of what a priest said once. It was during All Saints Day. We have a procession of icons, our favorite saint, and that kind of thing. And there was a child there without an icon. He wanted an icon. I had two. I gave him an icon. I'm patting myself in the back here. Forgive me. I'll ring my own bell here. Sinful. But the point is that, you know, I had a question with my priest over that. You know, I was like, you know, I have this concern about doing things like putting icons or stuff out there. I'm concerned that people will, like iconoclasts, will destroy them, like Muslims. They'll attack them. And he told me, and I heard this message a lot. Basically, you do your best, and at that point, the rest is on them. It's not on you. You can't control everything. You can't be a micromanager. That's ego-driven. You do your part, and give the rest up to God, as we say. Let the Holy Spirit work through them, if they will allow it. So yeah, do hardened hearts change? You know, God in Scripture tells us that when people turn to and give themselves to Satan, they are beyond reproach. They are forever condemned. And it's, from my understanding, it's not so much because God's wrathful and that kind of thing, as it is, well, we've put ourselves in a corrupt spiritual place where no matter what people do for us, we're beyond, like the Pharaoh, beyond help. All those things the guy went through. His own family was being converted, in this case to Judaism, in my mind Christianity, but, you know, or he wasn't even Judaism yet. So was he not believing in God, right? So even his own family is trusted people. I'm thinking about St. Catherine. Sorry, I'm mixing memories here. St. Catherine, Catherine of Alexandria, when we just recently celebrated, she has a story, a good story, where again she was dealing with a pharaoh, Egypt. She was from Alexandria. Addressed the courts as a lady, just a death sentence in itself, and challenged the wizards, and, you know, converted some of them, converted some of her prisoners as she was being tortured, converted the pharaoh's wife. But yet he, again, just like the Pharaoh of the Old Testament, he had a hardened heart and still had her martyred. But the power of the faith of the Holy Spirit worked through a little girl, in an example of Catherine of Alexandria. Yeah, I mean, it's possible, but when you're in a state where you're beyond reproach, the hardened heart, as we say, what can we say? I mean, we do what we can, and God have mercy on your soul. All right, so, I mean, that's where I'm at. At this point, I'm just going to do maybe a couple of live streams, and I'll do my best to detach myself from this, because as I've been very public about, and as you've seen yourself, I've transformed, and it's not been good. At this point, I'm becoming the very thing that I'm trying to warn others of being, and I can't do that without being a hypocrite. So I've got to take my own advice and unplug. Long story short. Yeah. So the academic research. I've talked about my credentials before. Yada yada. Psychology, education, some movie making to some degree, some exposure to that. Definitely a media buff, all kinds. DJ, comics, movies. So anyway, I've started this academic research on how Hollywood's portrayed Christian terms and symbols for this past half century. I think it was in 2018. And I had a couple of advisors, there's two different theological schools the university was trying to push us through. And both advisors were like wowed by my research framework, which I'm going to show you now. Professors, female professors, if you've been in academia and you've dealt with female professors, they're extremely defensive. They're ego-driven, of course. I mean, all academics are ego-driven. It goes without saying. But they're extremely defensive, extremely. So for one of them to pull me to the side and say, hey, this research, wow, I couldn't do this. Her volunteering that spoke volumes to how powerful what I just, and I haven't found anything like it. It's a quantitative, of course it's empirical. It's sound. It's very hard to find sound research is sound. And it's absolutely necessary. Why is it not being done? So anyways, two academic advisors, both raving about it, both gave me the runaround, and it seems like they've backstabbed me, they backed off. I don't know what's going on. It's crazy. So now that professor I just mentioned, I've been pursuing her lately. Like, hey, let's get this done. Let's put our lives on the line. Let's do the godly thing. She hasn't responded. I'm going to still push it. I'm going to try every avenue, and see if it's not going to happen. And I've got the message. It's likely not going to happen, but I'll still go through all the things just so I can make sure. And then if it doesn't happen, I've done what I can. I've got to move on and just publish it on my own without the academic stamp of approval. Yeah. If you know someone who can help me with this, like it doesn't have to be a PhD, or in this case THD, or anything like that. Postgraduate research, whatever it is, I don't mind, as long as I get this published academically, get some kind of seal from a credible institution to kind of help me promote my work, to get it out there, get eyes on it. I'd appreciate it if you have that ability or those connections. Okay, so the research question. Keeping in mind 4 essential scriptural themes, the eyes being the windows to the soul, the light versus the darkness, the hardened heart, and spiritual death. What is the zeitgeist of the portrayal of Christian symbolism and terminology in the American movie industry within its past half century? Specifically, were they portrayed positively, negatively, or neutrally? So that's the question that's going to be answered by this research. Again, why hasn't this research? Why can't we find this research? You find things that are on the cusp of it, but nothing quite this solid and straightforward. Why not? Isn't it long overdue? We have a century of Hollywood, a century plus. We have ample work, plenty to go by. Anyway, so the introduction here. From Moses' exchange with the Pharaoh of Egypt to the coming of the Messiah himself, coupled with forewarnings written in the biblical Gospels and epistles, there's an evident progression and fulfillment of prophecy throughout the faith. Consistently through time and space, God's message to us revealed by the prophets, apostles, and theologians thereafter is that we should be accountable to one another. There's Bible scripture quotes for you: Genesis 4:9, Mark 12:31, Galatians 6:1-2. Bring each other closer to Him, to God, through divine synergy and love for one another. 1 Corinthians 12:12-31, Romans 12:4 4 through 5. This is highlighted in the pinnacle of his greatest two commandments, to love God with all of our being and to love one another as we should love ourselves. Matthew 22, 36 through 40. God's creation made in his image, Genesis 2:7. He also makes us clear to us that condemnation is created when we turn away from his grace. 2 Peter 2:20 through 22. A condition that hardens our hearts, Ephesians 4:18, attempts to compromise our spirits, Genesis 6:12, and can thereby spawn suffering, Romans 8:18. We are thus charged to be exemplary in our words and deeds, Matthew 5:48, to be of good cheer, Deuteronomy 31:6, and to help enlighten others of both God's guiding commands, John 15:10, and good news, Isaiah 52:7, Mark 16:15. Thus, attesting Scripture is just as ageless in its relevance as it is ominously essential to all. It is thereby the goal of this research project to empirically identify, record, and analyze the Christian symbols and terminology of the ascribed divine Christian mission that are portrayed and represented by Hollywood. Of that described divine Christian mission that are portrayed. Wait a minute. Describe mission. Okay, I guess I need to make some edits here. My apologies. Christian symbols and terminology of the described divine Christian mission that are portrayed or represented by Hollywood. I'm not sure what I'm trying to say here. I guess. So this basically how the symbolism is being portrayed by Hollywood. Woof. Boy, did I not spell that out correctly. Anyway, the American movie industry. This process is evidently crucial in the current modern era, given how influentially impactful mass media is and has been for a century. For a century to cultures worldwide. Sorry. Contextual, I'm not the best reader here. My apologies here for my fumbling around. Contextual connotation of the biblical verses included. We'll take a look at all the indexes too, briefly, just so you guys can set eyes on it and screenshot it if you want. If this work, my concern with sharing this stuff publicly before was that I didn't want the wrong people to see this research model and then use it to do the exact opposite. Because academic research, it could be fuddled, and it's, I would say, much of it, if not most of it, if not all of it, is just absolute BS. So, yeah, manipulation. So I'm concerned about that. But again, as I mentioned before, you do your best, you put it out there, and if someone does good with it, glory be to God. If someone does bad with it, may be blessed. It's on them. So anyway, so this process is evidently crucial in the current modern era, given how influentially impactful mass media is and has been for a century to cultures worldwide. Contextual connotation of the biblical verses included further illustrates this argument theologically. These jointly establish a sound illustration of the condition in which mass media leaves our souls, especially after habitual exposure to it, particularly pertaining to personal emotional health and the collective spiritual salvation. I'm talking about the one body. This is a theological understanding that we are all God's children. We are of one essence, one mind, one body. This is not to say going on with some other theological things or other religions where, we've got one mind's eye or this kind of thing. It's more like biblically speaking. You are a part of the body. If the one part of the body is corrupted, you cut it off, that kind of thing. That mindset. Yeah, we're all God's children. We're all one. Not that we should be one. We should be one race, one gender, and that kind of thing. Don't get that confused. Okay. Let's see. Background. Okay. Yeah, media, as we have come to know it today, has changed drastically over the course of roughly 1 century alone, from the 20th, 21st century, namely Hollywood, which is not much time at all compared to the rest of recorded history. Yeah, I mean, even you're looking at the internet in the 21st century, the mobile devices, and the power that's had over us, how much it's changed the planet. at a click of a button. It's baffling. The printing press of the Middle Ages played an enormous role historically, but in the Einstein, I've got the. I mean, I don't know. I need to make this maybe publicly available. I need to figure out how to do that so you guys can access it as a PDF or something. Anyway, but in the last century or so, at the advent of the radio, cinematography, television, video games, the internet, and finally mobile devices, something that well, actually, I'll just skip that citation too, have been monumental in implanting messaging on the public sphere. All right, so all these references you can kind of look at yourself later on if you want, screenshot or do whatever you want with it. I don't mind. The movie industry is one element that is present in all of the above forms, however. So yeah, movies are present or part of even YouTube or mobile devices, children. So it's still quite relevant. Even though the delivery systems and the content is slightly changing, it's still the movie itself, in essence, it's still quite prominent. YouTube is changing that, the video shorts and all these kinds of things, but still movies are a big part of everyone's life worldwide. So, and that will therefore be the focus of this research in order to establish what will be the 21st century Sitzum Leben. The current cultural and social context in which the common narrative of theological understandings are manufactured and proliferated. So that's what it's a German term. Basically, it means context, the modern context. Okay. The research methodology. This might be a little boring. I'll try to zip through it for you guys, but just to see the kind of work that I've put in. I mean, really years in the making. I've tweaked it here and there. Again, I started this, I think it was in 2018, and the lockdown. I took 2-3 years break and tried to push it again through. Now again, I'm giving one last final push. 2025, may be blessed, as God so wills. Amen. Okay, so film selection process. 3 selection sources. The most popular American movies from recent decades will be systematically selected. The selection process will focus on including films that have the largest amount of recorded viewers in order to produce significant results during data analysis. A proportionate sample of 30 subjects, subjects being films or movies or whatever you want to call films, will be comprised of 3 pertinent movies per year within one individual decade, with a total of 3 decades being the focus, from 1980 to 2009. Now, I'm choosing decades because of the cultural context as well. Historically, when we look at the modern era, we like to break things up per decade. You know, the decade of the flappers, the decade of, you see what I'm saying? So that's what I'm doing. It kind of to automatically set it up for that kind of correlation. Film choices will be taken from 3 different sources under 2 major categories. Largest box office revenues to account for actual attendance or viewership, and award winners for the best flick to account for the most influenced participation or most influential subjects. And again, we'll expand on all of this. So if it's sounding like a bunch of rhetoric or jargon, bear with me here. I go into detail, so don't worry. And this description's we've got like 2 more pages of it, and then the rest is just little charts and stuff like that. So it's very basic, all visual from there. All right, so the award-winning films will be selected from 2 different types of subcategories. Films selected by members of the media, both film production and journalism, and films selected by audience viewers. So in other words, the films that the media moguls themselves, the journalists, the movie critics, journalists, same difference, their industry stalwarts, they're part of the system. as well as producers and all that. So basically what I'm talking about is the Academy Awards, the Oscars, and the, not the Grammys, but the Golden Globes. Grammys is television. Yeah, the columns in the flow chart are aligned. We'll take a look at the flow chart too later. Are aligned in such a way to account for the genre equivalency during selection order progression, which is indicated by the braces. Again, bear with me. We'll take a look at that, and it'll be all clear to you. Easy visual to follow and understand. It is these highest grossing box office films combined with the two categories of award-winning films, which will yield the three different sources from where research subjects will be selected. Oh yeah, I failed to mention, I read it here, but let me explain that the other option, basically it'll be the Golden Globes and the Oscars will be the industry's award ceremony, and the other award ceremony is actually people's choice. So what people actually selected will be the other category, and of course the third category is the box office, the actual attendance revenue. So we know, basically ensuring the most watched films will be these research subjects. So in other words, in essence, the most influential films. If they're the most watched, of course, they're having the most impact. All right, theoretical framework, and encompassing a brief literature review of scripture. And I've got a list of all those things that we mentioned before, the 4 themes. We'll look at that later. Expounds upon 4 major scriptural themes found in both Old and New Testament: light versus darkness, the state of hardened heart, ultimate concern of spiritual death, and how the eyes are the windows to the soul. These relationships demonstrate how various external factors can be critically impactful towards our internal spiritual state. And they are a constant that span from Old Testament to New Testament consistently. In other words, all 4 of those themes are consistently in both Old and New Testament. Quite significant. But what is the science behind it all? Building upon Pavlov's research on classical conditioning, again, that's the famous bell ringing, dog salivating experiment, which McDonald's and so many have used for a century now. Right? Modern research has proven that there is a similarity in cognitive functioning with regard to people experiencing, observing, and imagining complex emotional states, such as disgust. Prominent empirical evidence of that includes children mimicking violent behaviors they observe in the bubble doll experiment, which you also may be familiar with if you've studied Psychology 101. Young adults adopting a violent emotional state inspired by their imagination, as witnessed in the Stanford prison experiment, which a movie was done about. And I know that's controversial. All research is controversial. That's a fact. It's a given. And people developing, and I'm hoping that this will be controversial and that it will get some traction and people will be talking about it. People will be developing self-destructive behaviors such as smoking, drinking, and so on. The underlying discovery within such research is adopted emotional behavioral implications of people observing others, principally through audio-video means. In other words, monkey see, monkey do. Thirdly, to demonstrate how, to that end, some common or standardized best practices from Hollywood producers, directors, et al. Will be reviewed to reveal how much time and other resources are dedicated to creating precise messaging content delivery systems extensively. In addition to the theoretical framework above is the thought process inspiring the research methodology employed for the specific undertaking, which entails quantitative examination that includes a representative number of films from 3 critical decades, which encapsulate the turn of the century, in order to discover how a common range of fundamental Christian terms and symbols have been portrayed by Hollywood productions. By focusing on each decade, other data can be then extrapolated regarding potential cultural parallels, historical correlations, and other assumptions, while also providing enough samples to set a standard. So basically, we're looking at 100 films by the option I've chose, and we'll take a look at that too. The time span selected for this comes from a list of varying options, which take into account the establishment of people's choice, polling, influence of streaming services, impact of the internet on society, the 2020 lockdown, and so on. I mean, there's just so many factors. YouTube, mobile devices, all these different things have played a role. So I've chosen those dates to alleviate all these confounding variables. This particular study will focus on the option C from the list below. Furthermore, validity and reliability are ensured by procedural means detailed below. Future projects based on the conclusions. Okay, yeah. So we'll talk about the future projects too. Let's go and skip that. All right, some confounding factors that are being addressed ahead of time, preemptively. First, the film selection approach described above removes researcher bias by taking researchers' selective preference completely out of the equation, using purely a sequential systemic approach centered on focusing on the most viewed films, as we discussed before, and you look at the charts to better understand that. In addition, movies that do not contain any Christian symbols or terminology will be excluded from the results altogether and supplanted with the next option from a category in the flowchart below. Moreover, the next highest grossing film will be selected in the case of an overlap between the film award movies and the highest earners, or the next award winner. And any confounding factors, of course, are documented in the research and disclosed fully. In the case where film award selections overlap to the degree that no other option is available, then backtrack into the next highest gross box office earner for that year will provide an alternative option for the next most viewed film in line. This category is comparatively extensive in selections, especially in later years, so that will eliminate the possibility of getting stuck while choosing films. For this research's sake, only the 3 highest box office earners were recorded for each year, but a table containing over 10 selections annually is easily accessible. I mean, starting the 80s on, it gets up to over 100 movies per year. It's crazy, the number of movies we watch. As my mother used to say, they never end, and she was right. Boy, was she right. All right, analyzing the data. Well, how are we going to make sense of all this? Each movie selection will be viewed thoroughly twice, with the first viewing focusing on visual symbolism while the sound is turned off, and the second viewing focusing on auditory symbolism with eyes closed. This is to ensure that the senses are being fully utilized. In other words, for auditory things, only the ears are being utilized. You're not being distracted by what you see. So you'll be blindfolded, or keep your eyes closed if you can manage that. Either way. Additional researches for separate viewings or a third individual viewing scanning both audio and video visual cues for items that may have been initially missed is also possible. In other words, instead of just doing it twice, you might do it a follow-up to see if you've missed anything, audio, visual, and then also, of course, invite other researchers to view the same things you're viewing and put it through the same process. Each item discovered in each film will be critically analyzed and graded using a standardized custom rubric comprised from observed patterns and prior research on relatively similar material. And we're going to look at those tables here in a minute. But yeah, similar research you guys have seen. And I've expanded on just not only Christian terms and symbols, but also ethics and the stuff they're shared with you on YouTube and such. But yeah, you get some idea from those things, what we're talking about. The symbolic items will be called tokens, retrieved from those selections, will first be recorded, and then each instance will get graded accordingly with the data being organized as demonstrated below. Again, there's rubrics and so on. We're going to take a look at all of this in a minute. It's going to become very clear to you. Thirdly, these scores will be analyzed to determine the final grade for each film, which will also be recorded. The symbolic Christian representations will be recorded by 2 corresponding means. Visuals will be captured as screenshots or video captures and filed away with the descriptions in a database as visual tokens. The audio terms found in either spoken dialogues or musical scores playing in the background will be recorded by written transcripts or audio clips that will be labeled as audio tokens to also be stored in that database. The audio tokens might likewise be saved as audio files in order to capture the tone or inflection of the actors in those very moments of line delivery. Given as such, can establish whether those particular instances are either positive or negative. In other words, the word hi, you can say hi, say hi, hi. You know, I mean, yeah. So inflection is important, and when it is important, it will be documented and stored for others to access easily. Both types of tokens with graded will be graded either positive or negative or neutral based on the type of music being played at presentation, whether it's dramatic, serene, etc. The character associated with a symbol of a visual token or auditory token, or whether it's a protagonist, antagonist, neither. And again, from the turn of the century on, 5 years in, paying attention to the cross and only the cross. 5 years in, I became like a bit of a soothsayer of knowing who the evil character is, whether something bad is going to happen, and all that, just by noticing a cross. So this is very real, what I'm talking about here. I can't wait to get this research done proper and share the results with people. It's long overdue. What is being said about this symbol, and what type of action is taking place during that scene? Violence, angry behavior, expressed disgust. In other words, what is being associated when these Pavlovian type, and it is systemic, by the way. It's absolutely. You can say systematic either way. It's judging by the fruits. It's the same as after a century of the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, nonstop, for year after year, decade after decade, entire century. It's had an impact. Okay, scoring the items. Each token within each film will be. Actually, you know what? Let's just skip this. Let's take a screenshot if you will. Pause it, whatever. Later on, I might come back to read this, but maybe not. Unless you guys want to, I'll let you be the judge. If you want me to give you details about how the scoring goes. Black Easter. I've never seen Black Easter. What is that about, Demir? Honestly, I haven't seen that one. Let's see. I seen you in Hussein Mash. Oh yeah, was I on? I wasn't on his channel. I don't think he's ever had me up. I could be wrong. Maybe I don't. If he has, I don't remember. My apologies. But definitely, I worked with Amir for a while, doing exactly this, talking about Hollywood movies. And Thaddeus, I did a stream with him. Yeah, I did do a stream with him. That was a really bad. That was actually a presentation worse than this one, cut and dry. But yeah, God bless him for. I mean, his doing that for me years ago. That was a life changer. It opened my eyes. That was when I realized that for sure, YouTube is doing all kinds of censorship of me. Yeah, that was a really good. It got me going. Long story short, but things may have run its course. Anyways, may be blessed. All right, so let's get back to. Let's look at the little things here. So you'll see here. Let me talk about the future recommendations from this research that I'm doing. Other things can be done for researchers who would like to replicate this methodology for reliability. It is my own recommendation that the movie selection process be carried out in inverse order, so as to slightly vary input. So you can have a slightly different movie selection. For those seeking to imitate my own research precisely, in the table below, and I make it easy. I've got all the movies listed that I'll be using for this research of actual movies. Okay, so to provide in-depth research of the same findings from a different perspective for good validity, future research that will be recommended includes a double-blind study on 3 populations: adolescents, young and middle-aged adults, using eye tracking technology if available, in order to record, basically their emotional state reactions. Display random images and it'll be displayed images that will come from this database that I'll be creating from this research to properly, thoroughly record their responses. Yeah, I mean, this type of research will determine the specific emotional states triggered by each particular depiction accurately, as well as the cogency of participant responses. I mean, it'll keep it honest, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so you can see here on the appendices on the right, three different, half a dozen basically, different options from time frames that you can use to do this kind of research. I'm starting from when the mid 70s, when the People's Choice started, 1975. So, and on to 2025, basically this year, is a full range. That's essentially a half a century, and that's half of Hollywood's existence. But I'd say that's overkill and necessary. I'm going for 3 decades. I'm going for option C. You can also take into consideration how the mobile apps culture in the mid 20 teens really changed things. Movie viewing, the lockdown, 2020, of course, changed things drastically. It got us all on the internet, including myself, yours truly. Yeah, basically the red box, don't overlook that, but the Netflix, which is still a massive thing these days, the live streaming, Apple TV and so on, the streaming services, all these different things to consider. I'm going with option C, which is from 1980 to 2009, covering 3 full decades, a substantial, significant amount, 90 films that will yield. That's quite significant. And it'll be, again, from early Gallup polling, from when the People's Choice pretty much began, and it kind of started stabilizing itself at that point, because there's a lot of changes that went through. All of them, all the ceremonies go through all kinds of changes. To the rise of YouTube, the globalized YouTube, the 2009, when YouTube was getting pushed globally. And back then, I was in a student film with hobnobbing with, let's say, Hollywood elite, so to speak, royalty, I should say, not elites, but royalty. The nephew of this, the granddaughter of that, and so on, doing student films and that kind of stuff. And they were talking about YouTube and how we should get onto YouTube, and that's the wave of the future. And boy, did they nail it. No pun intended. They're all Jews, by the way. Go figure that one out. Okay, all right. So here's their next little thing here. Appendix. List 2. Terms and symbols. So these are very common things that you see. The terms of Jesus, like Jesus Christ, or a cross, a crucifix, and all that. Scripture, Bible scrolls, churches, clergy, the word miracle. One of the things that really chafes, one of my guilty pleasures is watching Texas Hold'em. I'm not a gambler, for the record. I rebuke gambling. So that's why, therefore, it's my guilt. Texas Hold'em is just a brilliant game. It's like a strategy game. It's better than chess. That's why I love the game, for that reason. Anyway, but yeah, they're very bad people. Forgive me for being judgmental, but basically, yeah, they go on about the poker gods over and over again. That's their big thing, the poker gods, and calling things a miracle. Oh, they got the card. It's a miracle. Mass media does that, of course, as well. It's just horrendous. It's very common. Anyways, you can see, going down the list, OMG, a very common one. Again, by Christian standards, that's not okay. And so on and so forth. Sins of the Father is another big one that they talk about in media. The Golden Chalice, Communion, Koinonia. Of course, rebirth, resurrection, reborn. It's another big one. Making fun of monks or nuns, or portraying monks as the evil people, and things like this. So these are the things in question, with theological considerations taken, being accounted for. On your right, you see the most of, there's only few more Bible verses left out, but for each theme, the eyes are the windows to the soul. You see on the left all these Old Testament Bible verses compared to the New Testament. The light versus the darkness, less Old Testament and more New. And this is not I'm not a Bible expert, so I don't have a degree, an MDiv. Well, I don't have an MDiv period, but I don't have one in Bible hermeneutics or what have you. So yeah, but this is a plentiful account for these themes here, and you can see from what I found that it's pretty prominent in both Old and New Testament, these themes. Or in some cases there's more in Old Testament and New Testament, or vice versa, but either way, there's plenty enough, as my father used to say. So yeah, light versus darkness, the heart and heart. I was expecting the heart and heart to be more common in the New Testament. It probably is. I've only found like 3 passages here, but I'm sure it's probably more, maybe beyond my means. And of course, spiritual death, a big one in both Old and New Testament. Okay, so yeah, the rubric, basically that will be created with the advisor, someone who does have all these years of experience and the degrees and credentials in theology, that will give their stamp of approval. They will put their reputation online and say, yes, this is a negative representation. Yes, this is a positive representation. So this is incomplete. That will be something that will be hashed out definitively with their signing off on it. The grading the things. Okay, so basically you have the second little chart, illustration 2. Grading each movie. Basically, you'll have the movie and a movie title in a year. You'll have the audio tokens marked as audio tokens, AT or VT, video tokens. You'll describe what it is, put the timestamp where you found it, and you give it a grade, positive, negative, or neutral. And then the final film score. It's either going to be a positive score. If it's +1, then it's at +1. And you might find, like in movies, I've done some research to some degree on things that are not on movies that won't be included in this research, and peripheral items, as I call them. And you don't always get like a ton of stuff. You might get like maybe sometimes you'll get like 3 in one movie. Sometimes you'll get like 15, 20, 30 in one movie. It just depends. So like 3 might be significant. If you get like a +1 with only 3 items, 3 tokens, look, then at that point it's fair to say that if it's 30% more positive than negative, then it's a positive film. It's and again, you need only 5% standard deviation to make it significant. So in all fairness, that's not going to be an issue. But if it is, of course, that will be documented in the research, should that happen. All right, and in illustration 3, you see basically all the films from that decade. Now, after doing the illustration 2, grading each movie and getting your final film score, now you put each film on a table on the right, so you can get your TVS, total variance score. Basically, your final score for all the films for that decade. And that too will be either positive or negative. At that point, we're talking about a lot bigger grades, a lot more significant standard deviations, if you will. Okay, so movie selection here. Illustration 4. This gives you a clear visual representation of what we're looking at. Excluding, let's take a glance here. Table 2, this is the box office earners. I only got 3 movies per year. By the especially late 80s, you can get up to a list of up to 100 movies. So that's not an issue. But those weren't necessary. 3 was plenty enough. But yeah, that's the most significant is the financials. But of course, people's choice is the prominent thing. It's what they like. So yeah, that's going to be influential. And then on the right, it's the Academy Awards coupled with the Golden Globes. That's the ceremonial ones. That's the one, the industry journalists and producers. They're the ones that are really choosing these influential films. But yet, because there's a lot of advertisement for these ceremonies and so on, they actually influence people's choice in box office, especially movies that are later on in the 20th century. They were intentionally releasing certain movies near the end of the year during what we call the holiday season these days, because we're anti-Christian. We don't want to say Christmas, and so that influences all kinds of things in box office and so on. So they're quite crafty in how they do things and their manipulation of what people watch. And that's, of course, outside of advertising in itself. Let me go back. Yeah, no, we're good. Okay, so yeah, I think that pretty much, you can see here, oops, well, my bad, sorry guys. You can see here that, yeah, there's associations here. Basically, Best Picture. The categories changed in both the ceremonies. Again, that's another sporadic thing. I mean, the Academy Awards have been around for basically a century now. Golden Globes has been around for a very long time too. People's Choice, as I said, mid-70s, half a century at this point. So they've gone through a lot of changes. People's Choice, it went from ballot polling mail-in to eventually getting the, basically becoming digital, long story short. So, and then more recently, A&E bought it. And, a couple of years ago, they did the A&E Country Music Awards. Instead of doing a movie ceremony, they did a Country Music Awards. I mean, talk about trying to trigger people. What the hell was that about? Anyway, let's not get off on tangents here. They're just intentionally doing everything they can to provoke people, to incite people to revolution. And that's what that was about, to be frank. I mean, obviously. Let's see. Okay, yeah, we talked about the highest box office earners, a table there, a table for all the People's Choice Awards, and of course the Academy Awards and the Golden Globes combined. And references galore to make it all nice and pretty and official for the academics. And that's my basically my research. I'm going to give it one more push. The only thing that we left out is the how the scoring thing goes. You guys that are in the chat, you let me know. Do you want me to read through this or skip it? If you want me to read through it, say yes. If you want me to skip it, say no. There may be a delay here, or you guys, I may have put you to sleep. Next up, we'll be talking about, and I'm going to be sharing with you my publications. Again, this is taking a risk here with intellectual property rights, as I say, but may be blessed. I'm not going to share like everything, of course, the books themselves. I've got like 3 projects that are halfway done and complete anyway. But yeah, plenty enough for you guys. Anyways, let's get into that, shall we? I guess we'll skip this. For those that are interested, you can always pause her and read through yourself. And I may find a way to just share this online as a PDF. Okay, here we go. Let's go to the fun stuff. All right, so I was inspired 20 years ago. I started actually my first book, To Be Hugh, when I was, again, I spoke about this in my testimonial. Long story short, I don't want to share too much, rehash too many emotional things, but I basically came to realize that little children, even back then, in the late 2000s, they had no guidance in their life. The parents at that point, even at that point, now that's that's over a full generation now. Even at that point, parents were already completely screwed up. Broken homes were prominent. The majority of people were getting divorces, multiple divorces. Children being slung around like, unwanted pets. Give you a lace, Lord have mercy. And so what did they have to turn to? They had the little games to turn to, which soon after became mobile device apps, games. The internet, which is quite common now. Everyone's like pretty much a robotic at this point. You know, and so in media, movies and the music and all that. I mean, I've talked about publicly what my own students, my own online children, the things that they put me through. God. I mean, it's I've got children torturing me. I mean, I guess it goes without saying as a teacher, right? But I mean, it's insane, people. It's insane. And the world has really drastically changed in a short period of time, too. So seeing that back then, I'm like, man, these poor kids, they have no guidance. They have no parents. And the parents that do have are pretty screwed up. Who's going to guide them? Nobody's going to church anymore. I mean, that's overstating things, but I'm saying it's anti-church culture. It's anti-Christian culture. So who do they have to turn to if their parents aren't doing these things? And so I was inspired to write a book, To Be Healed, for those children. And it's for single parents and only children. But it's for everyone. And it's for children and it's for adults. So I've got two versions. One is a rhyming picture book. Man, has that been a process. That turned out to be the most difficult thing I've ever done in my entire life. And I thought it was going to be the easiest. And that sounds silly. It sounds counterintuitive. Let me tell you, unless you're just naturally gifted that way, a children's rhyming book that's meaningful, you can write any rhyming book about anything. But to make it meaningful, like I'm trying to do here, to have some kind of depth while rhyming and addressing little children that you have to use the most basic fundamental words for, because anything more than that is out of their threshold of understanding. They're not exactly going to go to the dictionary and look it up, are they? So, yeah, I'm toiling with that. When I first did it, I was so proud of it. And then, took a break from it because the editing, I needed professional editing and professional artwork. We'll take a look at that too. I went back to it. I was like, man, this is junk. And so it became like a quicksand of editing process. It's been a challenge. Novella, I've shared it with someone very special in my life in full. And yeah, she was very moved by it. And I've shared some illustrations from the children's book with other young ladies, single moms and stuff. Didn't even know me. Only saw the pictures, moved to tears. So this is a very powerful thing that I'm very passionate about. I still want to get out there. It's still quite relevant. So, if you can help me out with that, I don't know how, but whatever. At this point, I'm just doing my best to just do the editing of myself and artwork and just get it out there on Amazon, even though I don't want to because it's an evil organization, but maybe blessed. We do what we can and then give it up to God. That's the theme for today. And be thankful for what we have. Amen. Okay. So the books, The Native Avengers is my comic book series that I did in 2017 while I was applying for this PhD program. At the end of 2017 was basically when I was waiting to hear back. I had like 3 months to wait for that. So in the meantime, I was also information still in my mind for the diaconate. But yeah, I was like, at this point, hey, let me do this childhood thing. Let me just quickly do a treatment for a comic book and try to sell that. And that's all it was supposed to be. Maybe spend a month or two tops on a treatment and try to sell it. And that turned into, after I went to a Comic-Con, approached Frank Miller twice. The second time, he basically had me escorted by security out. So, he basically was looking at me while I was giving him my pitch, and he was like looking at me like I'm crazy. The guy looked really freaky anyway. He soon passed away after that, so I guess it was really, at the end of the day, neither here nor there. But yeah, that changed things. The Frank Miller thing, at that point, I was like, your basic newbie writer. I was thinking, I can have a creative control over my writings. I could, approach anybody, and meanwhile, I'm approaching a Hollywood director / comic book icon, and say, hey, man, I got some cool stuff for you. Anyway, maybe blessed. So yeah, at that point, I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to obviously be able to sell it. So I might as well, instead of trying to make money from it and hoping that, I'll have some kind of creative control, I'll just control it myself, hash it out myself the way I think it should be, and put it out myself. Little did I realize what that process is even more difficult to do it by yourself. But, So anyways, I spent about a year on it, and we'll take a look at that too. But back then, we're talking about now 2018. It was so forewarning. It's a shame to get out there, but at this point, it is what it is. To be Hugh, I mentioned the dog pound. Again, the dog pound was really something I started in 2020. The story, that is. Just like To Be Hugh was back in, 2009, give or take. And I finished that one, I think, 2016, 2017. I finished, I think it was 2017 for sure. Yeah, but the dog pound 2019, I started it. I got serious writing it around 21, 22. Putting it on paper and all these things. I was inspired because I was in a village, beach village, and I saw stray dogs in that community, and those stray dogs inspired me to write this book. We'll talk about what that is in a minute. Porcu, that's really another children's book that's about me, essentially. Adventures of a porcupine, a hedgehog, armadillo, a beaver, getting displaced in, man versus society and man versus, well, yeah, that was more man versus man kind of thing. Why the Naughty No-Nos? That was inspired by one of my students, a Chinese kid, a communist, pro-communist. I'm proud of it. But who was living in Australia at the time, was making fun of the white Australians that were pro-communism. But he was like, hey, why don't you write a book about grooming? I'm like, ding. That's actually a brilliant idea. Yeah, these children, they need guidance. That's perfect in today's day and age. So I'm in the middle of writing that one, and it might be the best work I've done to date. Not only thematically, but the work itself is just, I've built the world. I've started writing it. I've got the storyline mapped out. It's just, I'm really excited about it. I'm trying to get my workspace done where I can stay at home and work on it and get that finished up. 33 Days on the Holy Mountain, and then what? A biographical account inspired by my, as I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, my spending time at what they call the desert, no electricity and all that, on the Holy Mountain. It's a place I never even heard of before. Not really. Or maybe I was confused between that and Meteora. Anyway, yeah, it was an amazing, transformative experience. I highly recommend for all. And I'll put what I can in writing and try to share that with others as well. And, who am I? Nobody cares about my life. So if anything else catches and I get some kind of notoriety to some degree, I'll be happy to publish that. I may publish it anyways, but nobody's going to be interested in nobody from nowhere. So, but I at least want to do it to share what I can. And maybe blessed from there. All right. And of course, as I mentioned, the academic stuff. If I can't get the official publication and academic outlet, then I'll just print it myself. I'll do the research on my own and put it in a book and put it out there. Try to get it out there. At this point, the working title, Hebrew Hollywood's Anti-Christian Antics. It'll probably be called something else by then. Who knows? We'll see where that goes. All right, first book, children's book, To Be Hugh. Okay. It says 2015 here. That was when I sat down and started really hashing it out. But really, the idea was started 2009, give or take, from that experience that I was telling you about. Yeah, as I mentioned, it's inspired by the question, who is guiding our children in the 21st century? It's a scary thought. Yeah, and we, again, barely have single-parent homes. But, late 20th century, the big thing was low-key parenting. Now it's, what do you even call it these days? It's not even that. Yeah, the 24/7. I mean, a study back in late 20 teens was, or I mean, not late, sorry, early 20 teens was that the average person spends over 10 hours, I believe, about 10 hours. I think it was over 10 hours per day on the internet somehow. That's insane. Now with the mobile devices and lockdown, I mean, people sleeping with their phones. No joke. Wonder what that number is. Yeah, and evidently our corrupt leadership. You know, the Rainbow Reading Hour at the public libraries. Well, again, where are the arrests for that? Never mind the degenerate pedos that were doing it, but the people in charge of the library. Where are the arrests? Anyone? Yeah, and so you can see here for yourself. I've got some pictures up here. You get some gist of what the story might be about. You get different kinds of artwork here. Originally, I was thinking about just doing pencil drawings on and put the thing on, like basically a sketch pad, so to speak, or I should say a picture of a sketch pad with pencil drawings on it for psychology reasons, because again, my target audience here is young and I don't want to traumatize them. I wanted to make sure they understood that this is just a story. And then I added some coloring to it. You know, it was pretty good. It wasn't great. And then I did a different kind of coloring. You see in the on the right side, the little raccoon thing. That's closer to my favorite, but it was very difficult, very time consuming. I was using a mouse to do it. I don't have even a digital sketch pad to do that kind of artwork. So it was very arduous and didn't always come out great. The one you see here is probably the best one of that. So, and then the final style was closer to something what you guys are not calling AI. It's not AI, but I was using different programs to do different tricks and things to make it more realistic. But still kind of crappy. Excuse my language. So, yeah, I mean, again, the wording, the rhyming for the children's book version still needs work. I've re-edited it over and over and over again, and I think the more I edit it, the worse it gets, to be honest. And also, I need help with artwork. I can't afford really to pay someone professionally, so I'm not sure. I think at this point, I'm setting on my work area here. I do have now a digital sketch pad. It's going to be a learning curve, but I think I'll see where that takes me. I'm not going to do AI. I rebuke AI. So, yeah, I'll do my best to make it proper and get it out there. But the novella, it needs editing. It's not all it needs. It's professional editing, but at this point, I'm editing it myself, and I'm moving on. The Dog Pound, as I mentioned, 2019. Again, it was prompted by, I also wrote a screenplay, by the way. I found that screenplay, I think it was in 21, 22, I can't remember. But it was like, whoa. It was, I got vertigo when I saw it. I was like, man, I was writing about the 4 lethal serums back in 2019, a screenplay and a children's book. So, yeah, I got serious about that around 2021, 22. Start putting that, hashing that out. That is halfway done, unfortunately. I got distracted. But yeah, basically it's about the forced chipping too, by the way, and lethal serums, and also traditionalism, versus modernity. Those are the themes in that book. And what are the solutions? How to overcome these things? And this is a children's book, very significant things. I need to get that. I still need to get that out too. But right now I'm focused on the grooming book. And again, this is intentionally blurry. You can see my processes here. This is not as on the right, the bottom right. This is not even all the files. I get quite involved in the process of these creative works, and I'm just going to throw something against the wall and run with it. It's not quite the opposite. Flowcharts, lists, a lot of planning, a lot of writing, a lot of editing. 3 completed projects. One was a group project on nonfiction, on education, published years ago. The 2 completed children's books that, again, is editing, and a few half-finished projects. Yeah, I intentionally blurred that out, so I don't want to get the idea stolen because it's incomplete. But you can see it's quite involved, and it's I'm pretty sure this one's going to be a really good one too. Although I'm not as excited about it as I am this one, the Naughty No-Nos Tower, the grooming book, or I should say the book about grooming, and how to recognize it and what to do about it. Again, the Chinese student. I mean, from unexpected places, you get inspired. It's wonderful. It's glorious. Yeah, basically, this one is addressing a number of things. The theme, the focus is grooming, pedophilia, and what to do about it as a child. But it also includes 5G towers, centralized dictatorial governance, whether it's a monarchy or communism, left or right, damned if you do, damned if you do. And of course, resource plan exploitation. It's not the green agenda, but it's bringing back the focus on the actual problem. It's not us, the consumers, the actual victims, but the companies and the leadership that are destroying the planet and us in the process. Let's get that refocused, shall we? Let's cut the poppycock here. Stop saying, "Oh, well, we should let the factories do it because we love money." That's the right speaking. These are people that call themselves Christian that are saying that. What the hell is wrong with you? Read a psalm, man. Read a psalm that thanks God for His glorious creation. How dare this stuff come out of their mouths? God have mercy on their souls. Anyway, I don't want to get off on tangents here. And that's, again, I'm going to focus, again, on the internet and all that, the media. I'm going to address these issues through and through. I'm taking my time with that because it needs to be done proper. And I need to, once I do it, move on. Because the internet has really corrupted me these past few years. All right. So what is the solution? Yeah, basically focusing. I'll equip children with not only how to recognize these things, but what to do about it. Very important. I need to get this out there stat. Okay, I talked about the comic book. It's around the mid-20 teens. Suddenly Marvel was going on and on about their phase 3, phase 4, going from phase 3 to phase 4, and then phase 4 to phase 5. Now we're in phase 5. We're going to go on to phase 6 now. Now we're going to phase 6. What are they talking about? Well, looking at the themes of their productions, I was like, man, they're going into full-on paganism. This was mid-20 teens. Like, man, they're not going full-on paganism, attacking God. And sure enough, they came out with DC and Marvel, came out with their Batman versus Superman, which is basically man versus God. Dark Side, the evil God. And they just recently, Fantastic Four movie. How many times have they done that? Galactus, the evil God. Thanos, the evil God. It goes on. But what's phase 5 is the witch hunt for Christians. Anyways, not to get off on too many tangents. Yeah, I was basically inspired. Hey, you know what? These themes, these people are not paying attention. Again, I had been at the Facebook thing for a while, and people were mocking me. I mean, back in 2010, I was telling people the white Christian man is being hunted. That probably doesn't mean much to you now at this point, but back in 2010, barely anybody was saying that. Barely anybody was saying that. But I saw the writing on the wall, the messages that media was pushing. At that point, I was starting to become somewhat of an expert. Not quite, but on the cusp of media, of Hollywood. Its messaging, at least. And yeah, I mean, I was like, again, the lone voice. I'm forgiven for sounding vain, but I'm trying to express to you how real it is, how long it's been going on, and the general attitude, even to this day, but now by my peers, again, mocked even by some Christian apologists to some degree, mocked. I mean, even one of the most prominent one, my last communication with her was her slandering me, telling me that it's all in my mind. How evil can you be? Call yourself Christian. Call yourself Christian. On top of that, I'm giving you receipts, as you say. I'm giving you proof. I'm saying, hey, you know what? These people are being slandered. They're being hunted. It's all in your head. Who told me that? Back in the early, over a decade ago, when I was saying the white Christian man is being hunted by my academic peers, adults. They were mocking me. You're an idiot. Men aren't being hunted. In the very process, they were doing the very same thing. They're claiming it isn't happening. It's a very real problem. It needs to be addressed. Yeah. You know, and as far as the creativity of these projects, I'm always thinking, I'm including this comic book here, I'm thinking I'm creating something new. I was warned by an Athonite monk in the desert, American guy. He was like, Nick, you're not creating anything new. Because I had this conversation with him. I was like, man, I want to become a monk, but I want to get my publications because, and I was having that conversation back then years ago. I was like, will an abbot give me a blessing to do these kinds of writings? And they're like, no. So that's why I'm now determined to get the writings done before I take the next step, if that's a step I'm going to be taking. So, yeah, but basically I've come to discover he's right. I thought this comic book series, which in the 20s, again, I hadn't read, I'm not like a fanboy, an adult fanboy. I had somewhat of a midlife crisis when it came to collecting. I wasn't reading the comics as an adult. Just basically trying to recoup the comic books that I had. My mother made me throw away in my youth. But basically, yeah, back then, the 20-teens, the 90s, things were getting freaky. I mean, if I'm looking back at it now, all the comic books are just satanic. And they're literally satanic. I mean, you look at the character, Santana. It doesn't get much more satanic. Son of Satan, or son of Sam, or whatever. I mean, Devil Boy. I mean, he literally satanic. And this is from the very beginning. We're talking definitely Silver Age, as they call it, from the 60s. Obviously, from the 60s, that satanic decade. But or communist 50s. Yeah, from the golden age, the 50s even. It's pretty bad. So yeah, I mean, I know I'm all over the place. Sorry. It's just a lot to cover, a lot of information. I get overwhelmed when I start talking about these things, but let me backtrack here. I guess my original point was, I don't remember. Sorry, guys. Lost my train of thought there. But yeah, basically, I'm doing my best to, basically original. I thought I was getting really crazy and extreme with these writings. And you're going to see that. But yeah, it turns out in 20-teens, they were already doing what I was doing, what I thought was original. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, comic books right now are outdated, so I'm not going to spend too much. And it turns out you need, you need like $100,000 just to self-publish proper. But then good luck recouping it, especially in this market. Nobody's really into comics anymore. Now it's a very, very niche, as I say, back to being that, because, well, they're just so evil and turn people off, thank God. They don't really have a customer base anymore. And the whole point of, again, my doing this comic, I was just trying to reach the rebels, but I thought it was going to be a lot easier. I mean, $100,000, I don't have that kind of money to put into maybe reaching a few people. So, all right. So basically, yeah, 2017, it's hard to go back because we've been through so much since then. But back then, things were arguably still, quote unquote, normal, if you will, if that was actually a thing, but this is comparatively speaking. So I was trying to warn people about the trends in the media, where we're being driven to society. Basically what you're hearing now, including these Christian apologists, masculine Christianity and that kind of nonsense. They're all doing it, all of them. And I mean all of them. Maybe people like the Orthodox priests, Christian Ciscos, Panagiotis, Father Panagiotis. You know, people like that that are literally Christ-centered and speaking proper, and they're not. Hey, you got to be fighting Islam. Take up your sword. Crusade. What is the douche vault? What is that? Get you lacing. Come on, people, get a grip. And I'm not saying you shouldn't defend yourself. That's one thing. It's one thing to defend yourself. It's another to be calling for war, for chaos, for rebellion. We need to hold the leadership accountable so they can do their job, not working towards civil unrest. So yeah, this is before January 6th, BLM. BLM's Summer of Love, the second Summer of Love. The land acknowledgements, the Redskins, which I've made fun of immediately. Again, my first love was a Native American Indian, which doesn't make me an expert or qualify me, allow me to be out of line with those things. But I'm just saying I have some intimate, if you will, experience with the culture, their mindset, and their coexistence in modern America. So, yeah. January 6th. I mean, here you go. Well, I called it the Civil Race War, mocking the dialectics of the Civil War instead of calling it a revolution. Yeah, and the race war. I mean, they keep to this day they're pushing us to a race war. What do you think they're paying, ushering, advertising, bringing in these Muslims, this jihad in? Why do you think they're doing it? Not only are they the new Gestapo to do all these evil works, what Christians, a modern person, is unwilling to do. But yeah, to create this world war, this civil unrest, and we're being pushed to react. Don't bite. Don't fall for that ensnarement, please. That was my warning back then, before January 6th. I mean, they're going to do what they're going to do regardless. But don't bite. One, save yourself, and two, save those around you if you can. Do what you can. Yeah, so this is at a glance. Basically, the common thing about the Terminator robots taking over, this is really originally the character on the top left corner, you'll see these the group of robots. They're originally a person in a suit. Well, we'll talk about that actually. But yeah, at first glance, you can see it's quite intensive. Again, I'm trying to reach out, or was trying to reach out to all these rebels, all these people that are, anarchists in essence, anti-Christian. I was trying to reach them where they are at, use the stuff that they love, and include these reality checks, I was calling them. Reality checks. Like this claim, the Christians are killing homosexuals. And, a simple bubble in response. Can you give me one example? Just one person saying that one statement, just to jar people. And maybe a panel with an expression like a sideways, perplexed look, like, and an empty bubble like, yeah, I guess I can't. Right? Yeah. So you see in the bottom left corner, I had my secret society behind it. What I was calling the unhallowed palanquin is basically like a chariot and a Far Eastern thing, or an Egyptian thing where you're hand carrying royalty. When you see that in the movies, and there are different things involved here. We got Princess London Yorkali. I make myself laugh. Called Red Shield, her character name. Her real name was Princess London Yorkali. The unknown character, the Almighty Architect. Okay, a time traveler. who's the ringleader of the secret society. We got Brass Karma. That's probably now making sense. It comes from Friedman's The World is Flat, warning about how India was given all this authority over U.S. industry, which is, by extension, quite powerful globally, including through tech, and that is a real concern. Again, the U.S. government is aware. I mean, the U.S. created this problem, and they're aware of the problem they've created. What they're doing about it, well, BRICS is taking over, if it hasn't already completely. I mean, at this point, it's a fire sale. All the biggest companies in Hollywood have foreclosed. Essentially, it's a full out hostile takeover of Hollywood at this moment. Never mind the internet. TikTok taking over. Musk is really China's servant. Look at what he did to the Middle East. Didn't he give the Skynet or Skylink, whatever it was, the satellite internet to the Muslim terrorists in Palestine during the Jews' attack of their neighbors, the retaliation to the October 7th encroachment that they allowed to happen. Again, Netanyahu, by his military leader, was called for an investigation for his allowing that to happen. Not negligence, but intentional. Anyways, whatever. Let me get off of 2 minute tangents, but yeah. So Bruce Kingsman might look familiar. Really, at this point, I could put Trump, but at that point, 2017, I put Bill Clinton. To me, they're one and the same, give or take. Andy Christie, Antichrist. Character's name, Emperor Anarchy. Of course, a Scottish knight for Mr. Clinton. Again, this is satire, folks. This is not to slander. This all is meant for satire. And of course, to address some real issues here. Archidora de la Noche basically means whore of the night. Character name is Maneater. She represents the Brazil part of BRICS. Okay. Yeah, so basically this was my elitist, the five families, the five big families running the show behind the scenes in my comic book series, the Masonic leaders, the unhallowed Pelican. It's rumored that they live to serve Satan, but their ultimate goal is uncreation. The Satanic right out of California, the Satanic Church and their uncreation, to undo what the Bible describes or says to have done. And so you can see here with the table, I mean, basically I really got into this, and I was really doing with extreme. The reason I'm showing the table, this particular table, and I got a lot of characters that are like this, but back then in the mid 20-teens, I was like, yeah, man, I'm really pushing the envelope to show people where we're going. Meanwhile, comic books at that time, and I've come to discover years later, just recently I've discovered this, that they were already doing this kind of stuff. And I know this because of the movies now that they're releasing were actually from comic books from about a decade ago. Anyway, so all this crazy stuff you're seeing on screen right now was already being put in print for youth to set eyes on a decade ago, a generation ago. In the 90s were just as bad, almost as bad. But okay, let's see. Let's do Almighty Architect. He's got high IQ. Alien sustains him. Yeah, so basically he's got an alien coming out of his butt, which gives him power. Again, this is extremely offensive, disgusting. And that's the whole point. Please keep in mind my target audience. It is for them. I'm trying to get their attention, appeal to them, and then deliver some reality checks. Yeah. Let's see. No, it's natural eventually becomes important. Popsicle. Okay. So Emperor Anarchy. He's a popsicle baby, sexually confused, raised in Japan and Brazil, a national corporate financial political powerhouse, obsessed with scientifically creating fountain of youth. Okay, so popsicle baby and sexually confused. To us, right now means nothing. Back in 2017, if I said that, people would have been like, "What?" Right? So I was really pushing the envelope intentionally. So I thought, again, turns out comic books were already doing these kinds of things. Now being this, so everyone can set their eyes on, being put out publicly through Hollywood, so all the children can watch this stuff on their phones. Anyway, you get the idea. If you want to screenshot or whatever, I'm asking people to not steal my ideas, because I do not want this. I'm open to still getting this done. If there's artists out there that want to work with me on this and get this done, I'm definitely open to it, even though now it's not. It was meant to be a forewarning to help people to avoid these things. Now it's all reactionary. But even as a reaction, it still has value. So I'm definitely willing to invest myself in it if it's done proper. So yeah, if you're interested, send me a message. Let me know. Okay, you can see, it's quite involved here. Tables galore about every character, all the groups, infrastructure galore. The Four Corners is not a Masonic organization, but it's like this, let's call it preternatural, 4 entities. Choosing the number 4 again because of the pagan implications. The Natamabon character is actually one that I've seen recently multiple times, and I hate that. I think they stole my character. It's kind of like the Blob, except an organic, a number of people that are basically becoming a zombie glob, and they devour everything in its path, and it's like amoeba can stretch itself out and do all these things. And it's very powerful, even though it's only just decrepit bodies, a group of decrepit bodies, because it's just, let's say, regenerative, so to speak, that kind of thing. And the strength of many zombies at once. And it can, change shape. So it's quite powerful. Red Cloud, real historical. Again, a lot of this stuff is based on real historical stuff. I failed to mention here. Let's go back. You can see that these are actual historical documents, real historical tribes and characters, and real historical Native American mythological stories included, all kinds of stuff. So, yeah. Just the organizations, the world building that I've done. I spent over a year on this stuff. It's just got so much depth. I've got the natives fighting each other, splitting off into different subcultures, and so on and so forth. The recruitment stories, lists galore, tables galore, descriptions galore, infrastructure galore. You see a flow chart. You can almost read this stuff here, actually. I meant to blur this. Again, all rights reserved. If you want to work with me on this, please let me know. But you can see how intricate it is. I don't know if you can actually almost read it. On the bottom right, the far corner, I predicted that it will be India that'll actually be initiating World War III as we envision it, and that is to say, nuclear war. It'll actually be India getting tired of being bullied around, and they're pressing the butt, because after all, they're Hindu, and they believe that they're going to come back as magical crickets. Because of the karma, right? Pooping in the street, they got good karma. Anyway, sorry, I had to go there. These pagan cultures, they're just to be called out. They're just vile, and they need to repent, all of them. Period. But yeah, you can see it's quite involved, quite intricate. Each bubble is basically a comic book in itself. What I mapped out and invented here was an entire comic book company. Different spin-offs, possible sequels, and so on and so forth. Solo comics, on and on. yeah, here's, you can see just a quick glimpse. There's a lot more. I was going to add at least one more slide of different things, different vehicles and different other infrastructure items. But you get the idea from here. I mean, it's quite involved. This is a base that's actually given to these native groups that ended up actually from rebelling to being propped up, elevated, so to speak, and supported, of course. This vehicle on the top right was actually in a superhero series before. I thought of it, was going to use it before they did. So a lot of the things that I created, I saw here and there through the years. And I often wonder, do they steal my ideas, or, it's just whatever. Anyway, this little weird design on the top left or mid top left, the circle with all the arrows. Follow the X and go work your way from left to right. You can see it's actually a straight line, and then it loops, and then you got all these little offshoots, and then it keeps going, let's say, straight, so to speak. That was my own timeline that I invented to make the sense of my comic book series, my industry, this company I was imagining. And all these little arrows and whatever is a little offshoot from this little loop created from time travel. And then an event happens where things get back on track, and it continues in a straight line until the quote unquote end of the world, the end times. I have never heard of anything anything similar to this before. So in my mind, I invented this. And then, I don't know, between then and now, I saw someone else use this kind of timeline. I think it was in a different movie, not even a hero movie. I think it was something else. I was like, man, did they steal my idea? Or am I reinventing something? I don't know. Some of the more unusual characters, at a quick glance. Again, this is an Automabon on the bottom left. That zombie Native American Indian amoeba-like glob that I was telling you about. The second one is actually a real Native American Indian character or legend. Yeah, real. The third one is my abominable snowman. Let's call him that. So it's going into like the caveman thing, getting into anthropology and that kind of stuff. The little weird thing that looks like an insect, that's my alien. And that's how my story ends, by the way. So I even went to that. Isn't that what they're doing now? The aliens are going to take over. You don't know who to trust. AI is real, and what's not real, what's not. It's the aliens, and it's the whole not Mars attacks, but War of the Worlds radio broadcast all over again. So yeah, warning about that too, basically. Area 51, that kind of thing. That's how my story ends, the comic book series. And the voodoo thing, the Brazilian thing and all that. I don't know if you can see her face, but yeah. Which is, with the Haitians and that being an issue in the U.S. right now, there you go. Again, I put all this stuff together in 2017, people. Again, just looking at the writing on the wall, the mass media messaging that was habitually being pushed and where they're trying to take us, those trends, those trajectories, as Heckle and Jekyll like to make fun of, that's what this is about. That's what inspired this comic book series. So the main team, the natives, I would have had 2 or 3 first comics just called the natives, and then they would have morphed into the Native Avengers, where they become an official group that is supported by the U.S. federal government, while in split-tongue fashion, standard fashion, I should say, also getting ready to be undermined and made an example of. And that's the story with them and their interaction with the government. And you'll look at the treatment. I'm going to share a treatment with you too, a little backstory of that too, and we'll get into that too. But yeah, you get the idea here. There's more characters. Dakota Pipeline Access included that at the beginning. It's just a bunch of superpowered people, Native American Indians getting together to combat that, and then they form a group. They become a threat to the U.S. government, and the U.S. government, hires them, and so buys them out, and then tries to set them up for disaster. So this is the federal group, the official group here, the United Withstand. And so this is supposed to, we get the one Native American group, let's call them the red group. For those who get offended, you'll forgive me. And then the federal group is supposed to be the white group. But you can see here it's quite, quote unquote, multicultural, right? So we have the first one, the team leader, which is actually Native American himself, Native American Indian. Forgive me for those who got offended by my not using the label Indian. And then we have the little girl. Okay. Of course, I made her Greek. The techie, whatever. You got your little dwarf, blue dwarf, who's a density guy. You got, let me talk about him here, the fourth character. Is he here? No. Okay. Hold on. What's going on here? Where am I at? What the frig? Hold on. Sorry, folks. There's something going on with the controls. Oh, here we go. Okay. Yeah, so this guy on the bottom right, let me just talk about him for a minute. He's someone who's passed recently, a dear friend. I don't want to say his name, but I talked to him before he passed. I got his written explicit permission to use him as a character here. He seemed to like it, even though he got offended. Say, hey, this is one side of me. Anyways, we knew him fondly as the quote unquote the ninja master. A bit of a usual person. Let's just leave it at that. But yeah, memory eternal. God has mercy on his soul. I pray that he's at peace now with our Maker. But yeah, very strange. I mean, I used a different person's body here. He's actually quite thin. You look at a guy and he's short too. I don't know. I can't remember 5'9", give or take, a shorty, and thin. So you look at him, he looks like you can blow on him, and he'll fall over. And I'm a big guy, 6 foot plus. I'm a big guy, and muscular, in shape. I know how to fight. For the record, you can say it's fair to say that I'm a lethal weapon. I could kill people with my bare hands. Forgive me. But yeah, so trained a lot of years in martial arts and that kind of thing. Big guy, I know what I'm doing. And this little guy, I could not budge him. I gave him a good pop. I should have knocked him out. I didn't put a mark on him. He didn't grunt. And you guys are like, why did you do that? This was actually sparring. It was. It's a long story, but I'm just saying that there's some creepy stuff going on. And I have a cousin who knew him even better, who was very spiritual, who did this prayer thing on him. This guy came and he was very distraught, something was going on. And so they did a prayer, and they said they saw steam. It was him and his mother. Now, one person making up a story, fine. But two people making up a story like that, I don't know. In my personal experiences, there was something going on with this guy. I'm telling you, someone that small, I don't care how much martial arts you know. If you're out of position and someone's got you in a leg sweep and has got that kind of ability and weight on you, and they can't budge you, there's something up with that. Oh, never mind. Again, the knockout blow that should have at least left a mark on him. If not anything else, or a budge or something. Nothing. I've experienced that myself. This is how actually I came back to God, so to speak, as a young adult, tampering with the martial arts, with the chi energy, and actually through this guy, come to think of it. Anyway, I'm getting off on tangents here, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about him and his memory. Very unusual character. As you can see here, the character next to him is not him. It's actually Spike Lee, another spoof. And again, the Anarchy. Again, 2017. This is before BLM, years before BLM. But this is my warning. I was like, man, this is what we're facing. This is what we're coming to. Sure enough, that's what we're doing. That's what we've gotten to. But yeah, not to get off into much of what happens here and all that, but you can see where this is going, I imagine. All right, let me get back to here. The flow charts, the infrastructure, prominent characters, the main group, the Native Avengers, the United We Stand. I was saying the fourth character, the Ninja Master. We'll leave it at that. Okay, so you get the idea. Your typical American redneck. The alien is actually Area 51 is a part of their team. So everything here, I mean, you got your prototypical redneck, right? The military jarhead, and that's it. And the little girl, the blonde girl. Okay, the blonde girl. So 3. My apologies, 3. The rest of them are, even the robot. It's again a little Korean woman inside the robot, not a man. So yeah. Okay, moving on. And that's pretty, this is not fabrication. This is reality. How federal things are multicultural, and so yet somehow the man's still supposed to represent white people. Okay. The quote unquote Europeans, I guess, but not really, because now America's against anti-European, anti-Europe. No surprises here, not from my perspective. If you're paying attention to media. Anyway, the inner black hole is the Black Masonic group. You can look into that. It's a real thing. Eastern Star and all that, century old. I actually knew one of its members who talked about their agenda being to impregnate white girls and make everyone brown. But laughable maybe back then, but now it's pretty public now. The inner black hole, or 6 A's, and their superhero group called the Fist. Of course, that's obvious now these days. Again, we have Eminem there on the bottom, on the bottom row, second to the left from the left. I guess it's Spike Lee. Top row, the first guy is actually the leader. He's a boxer, a historical boxer. Second guy is an MMA fighter, Kimbo Slice. Maybe you heard of him. You might recognize Oprah Winfrey there as the third character. The fourth character is just a shadow, a science guy. Turns out he's actually white. So a little fun there. The fifth character is actually from Janet Jackson's Super Bowl celebration. Another African prominent character. Barack Hussein Obama as Shades. Bill Cosby as a fill-in. Yeah, I'm having some fun with this. Oh, that's, by the way, that's Michelle Obama as the red serpent vampire thing. Of course, a hip-hop artist. But anyways, you get the idea. So this is the black team. So you got 3 parallel teams. The Native Americans, the quote-unquote white team, which is really multicultural, and your black team. And these 3 parallels are kind of interacting with each other and fighting with each other throughout the story, with the aliens and the Indians killing everyone at the end. And so I had all kinds of different groups. I had a lot of fun putting this together, looking at it now, including Greta Thunberg with a neo-Nazi brigade. Oops. Just all these different characters that are internet prominent, movie characters. Of course, I'm put the Greek heritage in there. That's right. Sky Spider. That's actual Native American mythology. Bringing back these zombie Indian hunters to do. Yeah, just all kinds of involvement here. The Seminoles, all female group by design. The legends, again, real Native American legends that are coming back from, let's say, space-time or Hades or whatever you want, paradise, whatever you want, to inflict some damage. The Sudan 6, again, back then, we didn't want to say that Muslims were a thing. Again, this is 2017. And I've got a little monkey as the leader. And a rock as one of the prominent characters. All right. Regulators. Oh, okay. And again, the U.S. internal terrors. You might notice the Ku Klux Klansman there, standing right next to a Muslim. And, of course, the LGBT terrorists and the libtard and the anarchist and the Satanist. Okay, so, yeah, I mean, they're working together and they hate each other. That's kind of realistic, isn't it? And, of course, the Latin group, the Hindu group, the British group, the Battle Brits. Okay, the bottom right. The WSRA, whites shall rise again. This is what whites are being pushed to be rebellious and to, well, revive the Ku Klux Klan and the Nazis. Isn't that what's going on right now? Isn't that what's going on right now? And this is what I was trying to warn about in 2017. Hey, in reaction to all this other crazy stuff, you guys are being pushed into becoming the Ku Klux Klan. Be careful. Oh, and by the way, I got Howard Stern as their leader. Mr. Big Bird. Anyway. All right. Here's the treatment. Let's get into it. Okay. So you can see the left panel. We've got, this is my leader, Sitting Bull. He's probably my favorite character, probably, no doubt, because of mass media. Also because of the Buffalo. Also mass media. I'm fond of those. Also, I've seen bison in real life. That definitely did a number. Yeah, and then you can see here the January 6th insurrection, which I'm warning about. In this case, is being led by Native American Indians. Yeah. And so, yeah, on the right, this is what we call a splash page. It's a 2-page splash where it kind of folds open, and you can see these natives coming together now. They're not quite formed officially as the Native Avengers yet, but they're taking the war from the pipeline to this nation's capital. There you go, your January 6th insurrection, and I call this the Civil Race War. And this is a flash forward. This is a flash forward to the middle of this particular comic book series. Well, the middle few issues in. I think it was like around issue 7 or 8. I can't quite remember. I have it mapped out, but something like that. Not middle, forgive me, not middle, but early on. A few issues in. Yeah, but look at the top right. You see Sitting Bull, which becomes the leader of this group, the Native Avengers. He says, the Civil Race War, just the beginning. And he's thinking, and how will it end? Well, a few years removed from the projection from the mass media conditioning to where it's brought us to now, we're getting some idea of where this is going to end, how it's going to end. Glory be to God. I hate to say I'm looking forward to its end, only because I'm looking forward to the end of all this evil. And I mean, I'm talking about biblically second coming. I'm not talking about Dushvalt or any kind of Malakia, this evil. I'm not calling a call to arms or any kind of evil like that. I'm calling for a righteous ending, a peaceful, proper ending, and not the jihad peaceful ending either. None of that shenanigans either. Okay, yeah, so you see basically how the story now ends. Present time, you see basically a zombie coming out of the ground in the Black Hills, these sacred hills in the Dakotas. And You also see a white buffalo coming out. And then again, this is a Native American legend. When you see the white buffalo, it's supposed to be, it depends on the legend, the tribe. Some believe it was a good thing, some believe it was a bad thing. Either way, it tends to be an omen to the as a sign of the end of times. And yeah, basically now you've got Sitting Bull looking at the white buffalo, and he's like, "What is this? What's going on?" And boom, there's a witch there. Out of nowhere, she pops up. She's floating. A shaman, I should say. And they freak out. They both react and start attacking the witch. And she fights back. She puts them in stasis. She freezes them with a spell. And she's like, "Hey, relax. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm the one." Well, I shouldn't say I'm the one. You kind of are led to wonder how they came to life, how they were animated, so to speak. But you can assume from these panels that it was probably her. And she's like, "Yeah." So they do the intros. Who are you? What's going on? She's like, "Yeah. Our Native American Indians. We've gone through all this suffering, all this oppression, all these years since you've died, and this must end." And you're like, "Okay." And so Sitting Bull jumps on the white buffalo. Now he rides. That becomes a steed. The white buffalo becomes Sitting Bull's steed. I know it's cheesy, but that's me. And so they take off. Next panel. And again, this is my treatment. This is what I was. I didn't get this far with Frank Miller, unfortunately. But yeah, this is what I had in hand. I was getting ready to show him. Didn't get that far, unfortunately. Showed him very little bit before he had me escorted out. I mean, twice I tried to approach him. The second time, oh well, maybe blessed. Neither here nor there, really. Again, he passed away a couple of years later anyway, so whatever. Okay, so here on our first panel, that's actually Trump's wife. What's her name? Ivanka? I don't even know her name. So she's my feminist, femme fatale character here, a lynx. And so yeah, she sees them coming from a distance. She's on her rooftop, playing putt-putt, one of the Trump Towers. And she sees a Sitting Bull on a white buffalo and this witch owl thing coming at her direction. And boom, she transforms and, ready to, leap into action. And they're like, whoa, relax. We're here in peace. And so they have a conversation with her and like, "Yeah, we're here to put an end to all the oppression of the Native American Indians." And I was like, "Okay, let me call my friends." And she pulls out her cell phone from I don't know where to call her friends. Okay, and so now here you see my politics. This is where I stand on politics. Somewhere in Washington, D.C. area, we've got Barack Hussein, Obama, and the Donald Trump, sitting together friendly and having a conversation because really they're all the same crap. And they're talking about this this experiment that they've been working on for a while. Let's call it a super soldier experiment with superpowers. And they're like, "Okay, it's ready to go. It's ready to launch." And they're like, "We have arrangements been made." And they're like, "Yeah, there's an uprising and that's been initiated in the Midwest, the pipeline access thing, right?" So, and they're giving each other the thumbs up there, you know what. So, in the last panel now, we're jumping again. Now they've recruited a time traveler, the native have, and they're going back in time to get a historical figure, an actual real historical figure, who is known for chasing after robbers and that kind of thing. And she captures the last train robber. In the middle of that, again, I'm tampering a little bit with history, but whatever. Yeah, in the history of that, like they come out to recruit her, and of course she's freaking out. Like, what are these demons? And she starts shooting. She's a speedster who's also a sharpshooter. The whole feminist thing. And so, yeah, she's plugging people away. And of course, it was a cat fight, pardon the pun, that ends that fight. And that's the end of my treatment. After that, I had it closed off with, let's see, what is it? Next issue, where I have that. Good gravy. These controls are really, really bad for the crying out loud. Okay, I've had enough. Let's do it this way. Yeah, I mean, this, what is a StreamYard? No, I'm paying for this service. This is horrendous. Okay, there it is. Bottom left corner, next month's ish. You see the natives, or at this point, it's still only the natives, soon to be the Native Avengers, and the United We Stand fighting each other. And of course, natives decimate, pretty much kill everyone. The United We Stand, and so they have to basically surrender or buy out the natives, and they build a headquarters from Los Angeles. Anyways, the story goes on and on. Yeah, I think that's all I had for, wow, kind of, I want to say zip through with 3 hours in, an hour longer than I anticipated. That's what I do. Yeah, that was the last slide. There you go. These are my projects. I hope I didn't put you guys to sleep. I hope that was, entertaining, insightful. Again, I really want to get, my biggest thing right now, in addition to the children's books, of course, is the academic thing. But if I can't get it done through academia, then again, I'll just publish it on my own, as God's maybe blessed, we'll see how that goes. As far as my own well-being, spiritual well-being, that kind of thing, what can I say? Prayers, your prayers are certainly appreciated. Yeah, let me share a couple more real quick things with you. I shared Blanchard stuff, which was inspiring to me. Again, all these things that haven't panned out the way I was hoping. It's good to see that, in a timely way, Blanche inspiring me. It may be vain for me to say it's the Holy Spirit. It may be coincidence, but at this point in my life, these kinds of things, I don't think it's coincidence. I think it might be possible that, again, hopefully this is not. If it is vain, if it is wrong, my apologies. But I'm saying maybe I helped Blanche out, and maybe in turn, Blanche just helped me out. Because just a couple hours ago, I was in despair. Like, man, looking at his presentation, getting ready for this live stream that I was going to do yesterday. It's like, man, all this work, where am I at? All this work, was it for naught? But no, can't say that. Again, we do what we can, but certainly this stuff has worked already in some people's lives. So, whatever comes of it, may be blessed. Oh yeah, so Thanksgiving tomorrow. I got to do this real quick. Forgive me. I'm just being me.
From the quartering, and that's going to be a yikes from me. Campbell's soup. I will be cleaning out all Campbell's products out of my pantry. I don't even know if I should donate it, to be totally honest with you.
I know how he feels. Okay.
This is a huge yikes. An executive had some leaked audio over the weekend about exactly what is in Campbell's soup and the quality of product that's in there. I never really thought. I kind of always thought Campbell's was a pretty good product. I didn't know.
Okay, so he goes on and on. You get the idea. Basically, you can see the title, Fake Meat. All right, and they know about it, and they're trying to cover it up. And they're supposed to have labels on there. Oh, at least we got a label. Hey, it's an approved amount of carcinogen. Hey, it's an approved amount of fake meat from China. What the hell is going on in the world, man? But yeah, they didn't even have the label on their canned soup. Just best practices. Another day, another dollar. All right, so let me share this one real quick. That guy, again, I'm not a fan of, but once in a blue moon, you know, I'll tune in. Did you guys see that? Yeah, you can. Okay, cool. But here's what are they called? I forget. Anyways, the China show, I think it's called. I'll share the links, so no worries. You can see them in over there.
Yeah, it's that first step. I pause there for a second, guys. Here's the thing. I've seen this before, where they turn all religious sites,
churches, Christian churches as well.
Yeah, and temples
You go,
too.
oh my gosh, that's a Christian church.
Yeah.
It's a cross.
Yeah.
You go in there, it's literally like celebrating the CCP, and there's nothing, you can't worship in there.
Yeah, but
No altar.
it's a tourist attraction.
Yeah.
You know that famous one they keep showing in Kashgar, that the oldest mosque or whatever there. That's a tourist attraction. You pay a ticket to go in, and no one's.
I'm glad he at least mentioned the Christian church. These guys barely mention that. In fact, they're very public about avoiding doing that. But they go on and on. Pretty much every episode they do, they push two things. They push how COVID was a real problem, always pushing that. And again, every single episode, year 2025, they keep showing people that are muzzled. These two are quite evil. I'm sorry, but it's like a pedophile that's got candy. You can't say a person's nice because he's got candy. Still a pedophile. So I'm glad, they exposed some things about the CCC, maybe. But the rest of it is quite evil. Promoting Islam like they do, and then promoting COVID like they do. Something's up with these two. For sure. Of course, they've got me shadow banned.
Praying there, you go there to look around and take photos. They've all become tourist attractions, so they're not actually mosques. It's a husk, just like this. You're not allowed to pray. But this guy went to several.
Good. Islam needs to be outlawed worldwide. Period. What are we even talking about here? Okay, and here's another gem. Again, this is random. I'm not sure what this is, but I have a feeling. Let's see. I might be going off on tangents here by accident. This is not. Let's see.
Is that to simply put the onus on Muslims killing Christians? Not only is a disfavor to Islam, because this has nothing to do with Islam. This has to do with land rights. That it's people who have historically been cow herds who have used those lands for centuries to have their cows move back and forth. These are the herders that come in from the north. Now, suddenly, these Christians who come up from the south, many of them are from the southern part of Nigeria, they're buying up land and they're putting up fences, which stop the herds then from movement. And that's why this is nothing more than similar to what we had in America between the cowboys and the farmers. And the cow herders tend to be Muslim and the farmers tend to be Christians. But some of those farmers are also Muslim. It doesn't.
No, I messed up. Like I say, I put November 21st. It's supposed to be a Friday 21st. That's my fault. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Right. I was down having breakfast when I looked at I saw your text and I said, oh dear, she's put it up by one day. So I quickly ran up. I'm up here in my room now.
Yeah, I can't quite remember what this is. Let's watch one more minute of it. I think I know. It does say Happy Thanksgiving, so it's timely.
My hotel room, but I've not seen what you have said already. The Minaj video that you just put on, the comeback that I'm hearing about this, and I don't know if there are other Nigerians that want to speak to this, is
we have Brother Korede.
He's here. Is Korede also on?
Yeah, Korede is here.
Okay, hi Korede. Korede's been keeping me up to in fact, it was Korede that told me to get on real quickly because he said you're supposed to be there. So
hi,
thanks,
Korede.
You're
welcome.
Appreciate
You're
that.
welcome.
Now, the comeback that they're saying is that there's just as many Muslims being killed as there are Christians. And this needs to be nipped in the bud by you guys. What they're saying here in America is that to simply put the onus on Muslims killing Christians not only is a disfavor to Islam.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on, but you get the idea. Happy Thanksgiving from them, by the way. Oh, subliminal. Watch this real quick. I mean, this is again. I wanted to save this for my the stream addressing the internet. But yeah, I mean, Jay there goes. Uses the word nefarious, which they need to stop doing. They stop calling them Orthodox Muslims, which he does. Eastern Orthodoxy. I mean, all this dialectic, crafty vileness needs to stop. Period. Yeah, for the love of God, if they care, if they're genuine.
But that being
But check out what happens here in this bottom right screen. You guys seeing this? Real quick, a pink screen is going to be flashed. I've got a screenshot of it. It's literally illegal. I don't know if it's incidental or not, but given the context of this, it's a bit suspicious. Anyways, I'm sharing all these links. This is at the 1.5 minute marker. Notice the pink flash here. And it goes so fast, even when I play it in really slow mode, I can't click on fast enough to catch it. It's really that much of a split second.
said, for the most part,
You see that? Okay. Yeah, what's that about? This is illegal. So anyways, I'll put this in the link. You judge for yourself. 1.5 in. Commercials. What is this? Massive scandal. Oh. This one I'm definitely going to save for the internet work. Let me just share one more thing. Maybe I should say, well, now that I'm going off on tangents, let me just share this one thing. Speaking of Islam and all that, and keeping our guard up and how real this issue is, how they made it, what they've done. Let me see here. Do I have? Yeah, I should be okay. Okay, what you're looking at here now, people, is my dashboard as a content creator. You can see here it says item was removed. Yeah, it was a Muslim that complained. This I had for years. I had it up for years. But suddenly they're going to complain. And this is a couple times that we've done this to these series that are exposing Islam's pure evil. You can find my stuff on full on other channels. Like I don't go to Rumble anymore either because they're also doing this screening of getting my information. But yeah, check this out. Basically, they gave me without warning. Okay, they've got a community guideline warning here, which has yet to come off. They said it was going to come off 90 days. It hasn't. Now, for me to appeal this strike, I have to either contact the Muslim, which forces me to give them private information. Obviously, I'm not going to do. Or do an appeal with them in a process here. Let's take a look at it. Hold on. They can see for themselves. I mean, email is one thing, whatever. But my birthday and other information, no, I'm not going to do that. So this is the process I have to go through to appeal this strike from a Muslim. While they're taking down my warnings of Muslim terrorism. Now, is YouTube supporting Muslim terrorism or not? Is it empowering Muslims to terrorize us Christians or not? Where is the accountability? We got a lot of show about CARE now being held accountable. Whatever. I'll believe it when I see it. It's always a bunch of rhetoric in it. Anyways, I'm getting off an angry tangent. I shouldn't have gone into videos. Maybe I should have started with that. My apologies, folks. Again, this is what the internet does to you. I'm now giving into the passions. I'm giving into anger. This is not how I wanted to end my stream. Let me see if we can find something pleasant to heal from what I just subjected everyone to via the webnet. Actually, you know what? I got one for you. Hold on. Hold your horses. Why is this? Okay, here we go. Let me pull up one video. This is really cool. I'm glad. I'm going to share one more thing, and we're going to call it a day. Let me go to my channel real quick so I can find it. I've got it. Let's see. Here we go. Perfect. Okay, give me a minute. 1,000 clicks. Okay, bear with me, guys. This is one of those. Let me make sure you guys can see it. Yeah, we'll make it bigger. Here. Or no. Come on, for crying out loud. These controls that they've got in this thing now, it's ridiculously bad. It's ridiculous. They made it glitchy. Beyond belief. Let's try that again. Okay, that's better than nothing. All right, my apologies. All right, so bear with me. This is subtitles in English, but this guy, really cool. He's I've honestly never heard of him. I should be ashamed of myself. I give very, very little credit or respect to these people. You can see here it's lowered, but where'd it go? For the crying out loud! There. All right, the Temptations of the World, Metropolitan, Kyprianos II of Oropos and Phile. Anyway, he's a metropolitan. In other words, he's a bishop of high ranking. He's responsible for a region, and that means that he may have bishops under him that are working to delegate. Just short of being a patriarch, which is a whole section of a world as a patriarch, like a hemisphere. Like, for example, the patriarch of Jerusalem, the patriarch of Antioch, let's say the Middle East, the patriarch of Alexandria, the patriarch of Rome, to give you an idea. So the patriarch of Russia, the sixth patriarch, and the self-appointed first seat. Anyways, let's not get into those shenanigans. Jay Dyer does enough damage there. Yeah, I'm getting off on tangents. Anyways, yeah, my apologies for the language, but this guy's really cool. Even though he's a metropolitan and they've got a bad rap, just listen to this guy, or I should say read this guy. If you don't understand Greek, which you probably don't, check it out.
Για αυτά τα οποία συμβαίνουν στον κόσμο και τα ερμηνεύουν ως σημεία των καιρών, σημεία των εσχάτων κλπ. Δεν έχουν σωστή ανάγνωση της ιστορίας. Ο κόσμος κάποια στιγμή θα παρέλθει, θα μεταμορφωθεί, δεν θα καταστραφεί. Όλα αυτά τα οποία γίνονται οδεύουν σε μια νέα γέννηση, μια αναγέννηση της κτήσεως. Όταν λοιπόν εμείς αυτή την αναγέννηση, την εσχατολογική, την βιώνουμε μυστηριακά, έχουμε χαρά και ευλογία. Μπορεί να βλέπουμε γύρω μας βέβαια σκοτεινά πράγματα, αλλά αυτά δεν μας επηρεάζουν, διότι μέσα από αυτά, πίσω από αυτά, βλέπουμε τη δόξα των εσχάτων. Ο Κύριος και ο Χριστός μας είναι ο Κύριος της ιστορίας. Ο Χριστός μας είναι ο Κύριος της ιστορίας.
Yeah, I mean, this is wonderful. I mean, maybe I should play that again. Yeah, I mean, all the concerns about what's going on in the world today. And again, we watch what, like a half a dozen or less videos, and I'm getting triggered left and right. I can immediately manifest those because prompted to go given to the passions, become a whole different Mr. Hyde. At this point, yeah, even now when I'm interacting with people in public, I've now got those triggers inundating me deeply psychologically after all this habitual repeating of left or right, or which I really don't give too much weight. I don't get triggered by that too much, if at all. But things like Eastern Orthodox or Orthodox Muslim or nefarious. I mean, again, why don't we just why don't Americans ever just say what they mean and mean what they say? Just enough. Like, why can't you just call it sinister? Why can't you just call them standard Muslims? You want to say quintessential? You don't want to say fundamental and understand why, give or take. All right, standard Muslim. Boom. Easy to say, and you nailed it. You want to get fancy? Quintessential. Boom. Nailed it even more. No, you want to slander the Greeks. And when you're called out on it, and people beg you and explain the implications of what you're fully aware of mass media conditioning and the plight of the Greeks, you're fully aware of that, you continue to do it. Anyway, so this is the real Greek here, yeah? A metropolitan, no less. People love to hate metropolitans. I'm going to share this link too, so you can watch it in full. But one more time, just for your viewing pleasure, going into Thanksgiving and all the hell we're being subjected to. Look at what this man says in response to that. Look, Christians, who are overcome by dejection and discouragement? Look, Christians who are overcome by dejection and discouragement because of all the things that are happening in the world.
Αυτοί οι χριστιανοί που καταλαμβάνονται από αθυμία και αποθάρρυνση για αυτά τα οποία συμβαίνουν στον κόσμο και τα ερμηνεύουν ως σημεία.
And interpret them as signs of the times, signs guilty as charged, signs of the end times, and so on, do not have a correct construal of history. Okay? Correct construction or understanding of history. Construal is beyond me, to be honest with you. Okay? Should we look it up? Let's look up construal so we can be accurate. Construal. Anyone chat knows what construal means offhand? I'm an English teacher and I know what it means. Let's learn a new word today. Construal. The act of constructing or interpreting or interpretation. An interpretation of the meaning of something. Okay. Cool. Construal. All right. Cool.
Των καιρών, σημεία των εσκάτων κλπ. Δεν έχουν σωστή ανάγνωση της ιστορίας. Όπως κάποια στιγμή θα παρέλθει.
At some point, the world will pass away. Amen. It will be transformed. Amen. Amen. It will not be destroyed. Everything that is taking place is leading to a new birth.
Θα μεταμορφωθεί.
And that's what I was talking about earlier. A new birth. Not a destruction, a jihad, and all these other crazy things. But I'm looking forward to what some are calling the end times. For this end of evil. For the new birth. For the new life.
Δεν θα καταστραφεί. Όλα αυτά τα οποία γίνονται οδεύουν σε μια νέα γέννηση. Μια αναγέννηση της κτήσεως.
A renewal of creation. So when we experience these eschatological rebirth mysteriologically, okay, through the mysteries, we have joy. It is a blessing. For as the Greeks say, the Orthodox Christians, ΧΡΙΣΤΟΣ, ΙΣΟΥΣ ΝΙΚΑ. Jesus Christ is, I should add, already victorious. Very loosely translated there. Jesus Christ is victorious. ΙΣΟΥΣ ΝΙΚΑ. He's already won the war. This is now just an opportunity for us to get it right.
Όταν λοιπόν εμείς αυτή την αναγέννηση, την εσχατολογική, την βιώνουμε μυστηριακά, έχουμε χαρά και ευλογία. Μπορεί να βλέπουμε γύρω μας βέβαια σκοτεινά.
Of course, we may see gloomy things happening around us, but these do not affect us, because through these, behind these, we behold the glory of the last times, our Lord and Christ.
Είναι πράγματα, αλλά αυτά δεν μας επηρεάζουν, διότι μέσα από αυτά, πίσω από αυτά, βλέπουμε τη δόξα των εσχάτων. Ο Κύριος και Χριστός μας είναι ο Κύριος.
Our Lord and Christ is the master of history. Christ is the master of history. Therefore, if the Lord wants the second coming to take place tomorrow,
ο Χριστός μας είναι ο Κύριος της ιστορίας. Επομένως, αν θέλει αύριο ο Κύριος να έχει η δεύτερη παρουσία, να είναι ευλογημένο, να έρθει.
May be blessed. May it come. Okay, I need to also point out the translations here. This is a problem. Again, he said, "Νίνε ευλογημένο," may be blessed. Να έρθει. May it come. He left that part out. So the translations here are not accurate, 100%. Let's say that. There's also some problems here. I'm going to point out a couple real quick. But I'm doing this for obvious reasons. The translations are essential. I'm going on and on about the Greeks. It's not only about self-preservation and the preservation of my fellow man, my kinfolk, but never mind the people, never mind the Christian people, never mind the vanguards of Christianity, but also something extremely crucial, and that is the truth. They're the guardians of the truth. As much as you might hate that, some of you are burning right now. God have mercy on you. They are the guardians, the vanguards of the truth. They have the understanding of the language. Without them and their understanding, what are we going to be left with? And this is a real problem. I'm going to talk about that in the other live stream. I'm going to start off with that because it's the most significant thing. It's a real battle, not only in diaspora where Russian jurisdiction comes into Greek parishes and goes on about stop being Greek. How many times has anyone gone into a Russian parish and told them stop being Russian? How many times has anyone gone to a Chinese one, African one, Hispanic one? Stop being Hispanic. They wouldn't dare. But for some reason, it's open season on the Greeks, just like it's open season on the Christians, on the men, on the whites, the white Christian men. The foundation of that being, of course, the people that you hate, the Greeks. People that you are made to hate, whether you actually have that in your heart or not. It's being put in your mind. It's nefarious, quote unquote, isn't it? So, yeah, without this, I mean, the Holy Mountain, a place where there's no electricity, literally a handful of people are allowed to go. There, I've got Americans from Northern Europe showing up and raving lunatic about how not all the monks on Mount Athos, the Greek peninsula, speak perfect English. How dare they? And going livid about it. Other Americans from America going on and on about the Greeks this, the Greeks that, and the English. And never mind Greek seminaries in diaspora, Greek parishes in diaspora, people coming in, going on and on about Greeks need to stop being Greek because you're making us uncomfortable about being Greek. And to them, that's okay to say. What the hell's going on here, man? But when you have Greek theological institutions in Greece being challenged, being told that they're going to move away from what you call the Kini Greek and to go to the modern Greek or to do it in the English, what are you left with when you're being told to take down their icons because it offends the Muslims? Yeah, not the Protestants who behave like Muslims. The Muslims are offended, so we need to take down the Christian icons. This is westernization, this is globalization. It needs to stop. Now, when you don't have the Greeks, the vanguards, protecting and sharing that language, the message, what are you left with? This is a real problem. So, with that in mind, let me quickly, like in a real innocent, beautiful video, share what just happened.
Metropolitan Kyprianos, or Cyprian of Oropos and Phili, is a hierarch of the Church of the Genuine Orthodox Christians of Greece. Metropolitan Cyprian is from the Holy Monastery of Saints Cyprian and Justina, which is located in Phili, Greece.
Bear
which is
with
the motherhouse
me,
of
my
Saint Gregory
apologies.
Monastery in California. This episode was filmed in Sweden at the St. Philip Baptist
Introduction.
At the time of filming this interview,
When
Cyprian was visiting Sweden to
when
ordain
the Master of Ceremonies, MC, this host here, introduces this guy, Metropolitan Kyprianos, listen to what he says. Pay attention here.
Hello, everybody. I am today here in Sweden with Metropolitan Cyprian of Oropos and Phili. Ευχαριστώ, ευλογείτε.
Okay. Ευχαριστώ, ευλογείτε, ο Κύριος.
This was grown here. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm about to.
Okay, actually, that's not bad.
And I actually wanted to ask Your Eminence, what's your favorite
I read it before for some reason as our blessing.
Η αλήθεια είναι ότι δεν
I wonder if it's changed since now.
Δεν έχω πολύ επικοινωνία με το τσάι. Πού και πού, αρέα θα πιω λίγο τσάι.
I'll try to see if I can learn Greek next time. So next time we can speak in Greek, and then maybe we'll have Greek mountain tea next time too, since it's your favorite. Okay, very good.
Okay, so obviously they have a translator. All right, so he's putting the guy on the spot about the Greek language and the culture and all that. Obviously, he doesn't care, but he doesn't know how to react. Like, what's going on here?
I'll try to see if I can learn Greek next time. So next time we can speak in Greek, and then maybe we'll have Greek mountain tea next time too, since it's your favorite. Okay, very good.
All right, maybe blessed. So, okay, maybe, the translations are not that bad. My apologies, but yeah, what can I say? It's just, I don't know, man. I don't know what to say anymore. It's just, you just got to be mindful of the implications of what we say and do, especially in today's world, where if we post something online, how that impacts people, we got to have the responsibility. Like right now, I made a mistake. I could have swore, maybe I'm possessed. I could have swore I read that earlier as in the translation being our blessing. And here as actually somehow suddenly perfectly translated. Could they have changed that? In the time that I posted it on YouTube, on my thing, like here, let me show you. I think it was even today that I posted it. Okay, that's our live. Hold on. This is freaking me out, actually. Yeah, so it was, 14 hours ago. Yeah, or Kyrios, literally the Lord, not our blessing. Yeah, I read it as our blessing. That's quite different than what I just read. I don't know. I don't know what to say. Maybe I'm going crazy. Anyway, the point remains that the language is under siege here. It's not a small issue. We can't rely, for example, if you want to learn Swahili, you're not going to go to China. See what I'm saying? It's not a small problem. So please be mindful of what we say online and how it affects people, especially if it's a collective. If many people are saying it over and over again, wherever you turn, now that is officially mass media messaging. Whether you're attentive to be or not, it doesn't matter. Judge them by the fruits, judge them by the outcomes. What matters is the impact it has. And when you're driving people to hate an entire people, for what? It's not a small problem. All right. Anyway, yeah, I think I really kind of botched up. The whole point of this video was to share a beautiful message. I botched it up too with my triggers. But yeah, this is a beautiful video. I'm going to share this, all of it. We're not going to watch it because it's, as you can see, an hour long. But he says some really wonderful things here. And this is not me just sucking up to someone. If you know me, you know I don't hobnob at all. I'm quite the opposite. If anything, I can be accused of having an issue with authority figures, not advertising them. But despite that, this guy has and there you go. He's a metropolitan. Some other people are going on. He's all sacred holiness. I'm calling him this guy. And if I met him in person, I would be treating him like this guy. And I assume as a Christian, he'll be happy to receive me that way. He looks like a very humble guy. I like this guy. I could be wrong, but I like him. Anyway, regardless, his fruits are very nice. Very good stuff. I hear a lot of these people talk. To me, a lot of it sounds like, forgive me, fluff. This stuff doesn't come off as fluff at all, but from the heart and very powerful, moving. So yeah, enough of that. I'm going to share that link now in the chat, along with the other links. And what I missed, I'll try to put in the descriptions, in the description afterwards, after the live stream's over. But I mean, I want to leave you guys with a uplifting message. Better late than never. You know, again, be thankful you have family. This is not for the sake of pity party, just to put in perspective. Some people don't have family. It's not that I don't have family. I wasn't born in a test tube. But I'm saying that I don't have family to celebrate Thanksgiving with tomorrow, is my point. And there's plenty in the world in that kind of situation. So be thankful that you have family, whether you're, mad at them for being libtards or alt-right or, or whatever the case may be. Pray unceasingly. Give thanks to God. Give thanks to being able to have a family close to you. Loved ones who love you despite the conditioning and the triggers and all these shenanigans. And be thankful that you are able to have a meal. Never mind, hopefully a good one. Yeah, and be thankful, that, look, as long as we remain centered on Christ, this too shall come to pass. That's all we got to do. It takes work. It's a violent process. Entering the kingdom is a violent process. But it's not rocket science, that's for sure. All right, I do love y'all. Take care. God bless. And have a happy Thanksgiving. And if I don't see you before I'm going to get back on live before the quote-unquote holidays, Christmas or New Year, have a good Christmas and a happy New Year. God bless.